weiter, wie es angefangen hat. Ryzen drückt hier dieses Spielsystem durch, die ganze Hälfte. Und was mir, sag ich mal, noch mehr Angst macht, haben wir gerade hinten aus der Regie nochmal erzählt bekommen, das hier ist nicht der Map-Pick von Ryzen, das ist der Map-Pick von Just Chill Guys. Und auf seiner eigenen Map nach der ersten Hälfte potenziell mit 0:6 hinten zu liegen, das tut mehr als nur weh.
Du hattest im Vorfeld gesagt, dass wir Consonant noch gar nicht gesehen haben von Ryzen, ne?
Ja. Und ich glaube, man sieht warum.
Naja. Also,
es hilft dann noch den Toxic Babe, dann so ein bisschen Zeit rauszuholen, aber geht nicht auf den Diffuse, er muss jetzt ran. Striker ist drin, hat ihn reingebaitet. Jetzt muss man hier gucken, ob Jack den Kill ziehen kann. Jack holt sich den Kill und hat genug Zeit, in aller Seelenruhe diesen Diffuse zu tätigen. Somit stellt man hier Chill Guys auf 3:6. Die Hälfte hat man geschafft. Die zweite Hälfte kommt erst noch.
Junge, ey, die sind wirklich nicht tot zu kriegen. Das ist unfassbar. Also also Just Chill Guys, die wirklich halten sich mit der letzten Kraft irgendwie noch im Game. 3 Runden
hängen und kann nicht gleichzeitig irgendwie eine Waffe haben. Wer eine Waffe in der Hand haben kann, ist Two-Face. Eben, mit dem Tatanka. Ja. Und er holt sich dann hier auch die ersten Frags raus. Mit dem ACOG an der Garage. Und ich frage mich, will Regaming einfach nur ganz schnell in die Defense?
Nein! Two-Face, Quad-Kill hier. Er geht hier einfach straight gegen den Glass und am Ende bleibt es beim Quad-Kill, denn
irgendwie hier was finden, um sich mal reinzuspielen. Aber das gleiche System ist wie auch letztens. Jetzt holt sich Striker die Vertikale, die man seitens Daily gar nicht im Blick hat. Fano wird geholt von Max Flawless. Und Nero holt sich die letzten Flawless zum Ende. 7-3 der Standing. Somit holt man sich den zweiten Map-Punkt und geht somit, sage ich mal, für die nächste Map auf Series Point seine.
Und bei Phoenix weiß man eigentlich, wo der sein müsste, aber man hat nicht damit gerechnet, wo hier Snooze unterwegs ist. Guess who's back bekommt aber beide. Wie ist der, bitteschön, da gerade nach dem Drop? 4-4 auf beiden Seiten, alles noch drinne. Letztendlich wird es wahrscheinlich dann einen Push geben. Man wird versuchen, in der Lautstärke, würde ich mal fast sagen, schon, da dann zu submischen irgendwie. Jetzt Penelope mit Kill gegen Phoenix. Snooze holt sich Guess who's back. Und dann sind da die Attacker, die einfach mal reinpushen und die Gunst der Stunde nutzen, um hier irgendwie noch diese Runde für sich zu entscheiden. Und wenn es eben nicht mit einer Kill.
Und das ist halt die Frage, hat man es auf dem Schirm? Ich glaube, Max hat sich schon mal umgedreht. Er ist der Meinung, der hat da irgendwas gehört oder könnte eventuell was irgendwie anbahnen, aber die anderen Jungs, also Gisela und so, die haben gar nichts. Stehen da vor ihm rum und da holt er sich den ersten, kann er sich den zweiten holen, den zweiten Double, Jack auf Double. Und wo ist Max? Wo ist Max hingelaufen? Nero ist auch unten. Die sind ja förmlich aneinander vorbeigelaufen. Und Jack, der bestraft das doppelt vorerst.
Ein Drama in 3 Akten, möchte man fast schon sagen. Ne? Also erst
auch ordentlich einstecken, aber X-Zero kommt nochmal aus sich raus und holt sich hier zumindest mal Two-Face und jetzt schießt er hier seinen eigenen Mann ab, weil er die Echo-Drone zerstören wollte.
Um es schon mal zu planten, der Defense gar nicht genug Zeit dafür zu geben. Redmark kommt raus auf den Planter, der Pre-Fire sitzt nicht, er kommt dann doch zu früh, jetzt muss er nachladen, wird dabei vielleicht gecatcht, nein, er kommt nochmal in die richtige Position. Die geöffnet dieses Mirror-Fenster für den besseren Engel auf dem Planter, er weiß auf jeden Fall, wo er ist, aber er wird von hinten jetzt geholt. Two-Face kann sich dann mit der Piste die Kills sichern und damit auch das 5:4.
Ja, das hätte man besser ausspielen müssen, vor allem hatte man ja da
Execute gut sind. Und jetzt haben wir noch 15 Sekunden. Leute, ihr müsst auch on Zeit kommen. Head wird jetzt gedroppt, C4 kommt allerdings raus, kann gerade noch rechtzeitig zerschossen werden. Aber man hat den Pro nicht auf dem Schirm, dann ist es ein 1 gegen 3 und Faith ist einfach in Service. Eine kleine Maschine.
Monty möchte wahrscheinlich die Kontrolle über Garrett bekommen. Ich bin sehr gespannt, was wir hier dann am Ende sehen.
Auch schön aufgepasst vom Capitao. Man kann da einen injuren, jetzt kommt das Feuer hinterher, der HEE kommt hinterher. Man kriegt aber diesen Kill nicht confirmed. Burst X ist auch raus. Jetzt aber Everest von Shio rausgezogen. Und da ist dann auch ein Nerf gegen Tolchi, kann sich den Frag sichern. Aber auch das wäre wieder fast ein Refrag geworden von Sloth. Aber da ist Sushi, der rappelt immer noch und kann genau diese Kills
Execute gut sind. Und jetzt haben wir noch 15 Sekunden. Leute, ihr müsst auch on Zeit kommen. Head wird jetzt gedroppt, C4 kommt allerdings raus, kann gerade noch rechtzeitig zerschossen werden. Aber man hat den Pro nicht auf dem Schirm, dann ist es ein 1 gegen 3 und Faith ist einfach in Service. Eine kleine Maschine zu gehen. Das ist natürlich erstmal ein guter Gedanke, besonders mit dem Bulls und Runde der Warden vergisst ein bisschen zu lange, dass er noch ein Gadget hat, wird deswegen vom Blitz umgeholzt.
Als erstes verloren. Jetzt Sledge ist unfassbar viel Utility, wenn wir gucken, was wir auf der Seite von den Turks haben, mit zum Beispiel einem Castle, ja? Also, es ist einfach diese frühe Aggression generell, ob sie das jetzt über die Clash oder die Spawn Peaks irgendwie machen, ist einfach wirklich gut zu sehen, dass die Turks die Vorteile dieser Map zusätzlich nutzen, um es denen hier so unentspannt wie möglich zu machen. Und diesmal geht sogar der Bandit Trick hier durch.
Ja, Bennett geht durch, der geht durch. Man hat die Vertikale, sag ich jetzt mal, daher versucht die Vertikale auch zu halten. Kriegt da damit sind sie denn mehr als zufrieden. Oh, aber Tom hat ein ganz Gespräch was dagegen. Und jetzt erstmal Koray. Ein ganz schnelles Ende.
Ja, da. Tubarao, Kaid-Kombo. Wir haben den Tubarao gesehen. Schöner Runout-Versuch von Pangoro und der zweite Peak erfolgreich auf Shens.
Sich über die Vertikale im ersten Stock aufzubauen, um auch da nicht wirklich zu riskieren, dass man hier einen Shot von dem C4 auf die Vertikale hintergeworfen bekommt. Jetzt
Also, ich
Chase
bin auf die
Shenzo.
Ich würde sagen, ich bin auf dieser Distanz von dieser Shotgun aber auch schon gewone-shottet worden. Pelletsverteilung hier sehr günstig für den lieben Corey, der das dann aber am Ende trotzdem abgeben muss. Shenzo jetzt hier mit dem zweiten Kill in dieser Runde, macht das gut mit dem Sledge und leider hat, glaube ich, Plunderstück so ein bisschen vergessen, was ihre eigentliche
Die eventuell davor raushauen oder sag ich mir so auf jeden Fall einplanen, dass man das nicht aus dem Blickfeld lässt, um sich da irgendwie unnötig swingen zu lassen. Aber Jenna holt sich da auch direkt den Doppelkill raus. Axel und Percival. Und das ist genau das eingetroffen, was hier so ein bisschen angesprochen wurde. Sind 2 Stück um im Topscore, die muss man auf dem Schirm haben.
Managers Office in der Hoffnung, dass ihnen jemand da ja, das haben sie aber auf dem Schirm. Finde ich sehr gut tatsächlich, dass das nicht funktioniert. Und das C4 von Roaring mit dem Teamkill. Sehr unangenehm.
Diese Aggressivität dann einschlägt, dass du dann mindestens so eine Positionhaltung hast, dass sich entweder einer reframen kann oder du da selber den Kill noch holen kannst in der ersten Allüre. Aber Claudi, Aggressivität, kaum angesprochen, outjumpt und dass er dann einen Doppelkill holt, ist mehr als verboten für ihn, um wenigstens da
besser einsetzen zu können, um den Plan zu dienen. Nein, wir sehen auch schon, am Default-Plan-Spot brennt der Boden schon ordentlich. Gleichzeitig hat man Corey wieder auf dem Smoke, glaube ich, wieder hier in Richtung von diesem Balcony, der jetzt glücklicherweise von Stiz gebreached wird. Damit wird es Corey da deutlich schwerer fallen, überhaupt Damage zu machen. Und da ist auch der wichtige Kill tatsächlich auf Blunted. Corey, Entschuldigung, Kai Coxe da immer noch am Start. Corey hat sich längst zurückgezogen, es ist Inside Console Office unterwegs und wirft seine Toxic Babe Canister in Richtung
drauf und ja, die Frage ist jetzt, was passiert? Man ist eingekesselt auf dem Bathroom, die Wände sind soft. Salzstreu jetzt in einer Aktion, probiert den Diffuser auf den Boden zu bringen. Oh. Und der schafft das, glaube ich, auch. Man holt sich den oben an der Hedge, Diffuser ist auf dem Boden und jetzt ist raus! Salzstreuer Mini mit dem Knife Kill auf Knoxworld und dann ist es am Ende der Warden, der sich hier, ja, Salzstreuer Mini rausziehen kann und die erste Runde für MS Treuer entscheiden kann. Aber auch die Runde
mit dem Glass setzt er auf jeden Fall ein bisschen Druck an. Hungry übers Window rein, Rorik über die Box. Und Hungry, der holt da Rorik, die Abstimmung. Die stimmt nicht ganz und somit verpasst man den Kill.
Oxidi fällt gegen Joker. Und jetzt müssten sie eigentlich nur mit 2 Leuten rausspringen und einer müsste den Diffuse gehen. Aber sie verlieren leider erst. Sie holt den zweiten. Was macht ein NXT hier? Das ist ja ein Hühnerhaufen bei denen. In 10 Sekunden, er muss für den Diffuse gehen. Hat einer P. Und damit geht diese Runde an Oblivion Gaming.
Fantasy, ganz ehrlich, der Mann des Matches kriegt sogar noch den letzten Kill. Was macht er? Also, er rappelt hat, gut gemacht, covert das und NXT.
Das ist jetzt in Richtung von Animus. A-Side-Plan scheint jetzt der Fokus zu sein, den Diffuser aber nicht dabei. Sie versuchen also auf den Kill zu gehen, von 2 Seiten aus die Schläge zuzuziehen. Ersten Bullets jetzt in die Richtung von Rimso, der versucht, um die Kiva Barriers drumherum zu spielen. Bekommt er den? Die Shotgun raus!
Die MK17 habe ich da eigentlich gerade bei Ying als die absoluten Vorteil gesehen, aber ein bisschen Krach, macht nochmal Lärm. Oxidi, der ist schon auf dem Spot, muss aber seinen Plan-Versuch abbrechen, denn da ist noch eben die Razor Blue Shell. Man kann den Plan jetzt durchsetzen und so langsam sollte Oblivion aber mal Gas geben. Gegen der Hedge kann man nicht gegenkommen. Da kommt dann noch der eigene Team-Frag. Das war keine gute Runde. Da hätte man vielleicht mal ein bisschen früher agieren müssen. Hat denen da das Leben ein bisschen zu leicht gemacht auf Seiten von NXT.
Ja, da war die Ruhe einfach ein bisschen zu Und es ist Arceus Opening Track bei 37 Sekunden gegen Sograna. Joker ist da, gegen Ranker. Da ist Arceus nochmal, Doppelkill gegen Penguin. Arceus mit dem Triple Kill. Dodo beendet es. Oblivion gewinnt mit 8:7. Map Nummer 2. Map-technisch gesehen stehen sie damit 2:0 und gewinnen somit dieses Match, ziehen ein ins Finale des Upper Brackets gegen DK.
Und RJ Inside 490 wehrt sich zwar, aber der Pokéball reicht. Die Contact zum Sieg in dieser Runde. Jay schon super low. Bei den vielen Gunfights, die er ja hatte, wir haben es am Ende hier auch nochmal gesehen. Du wirst einfach confident, ne? Du hast 6 Runden am Stück gewonnen und das auf der Tech Nighthaven Labs. Das hat killtechnisch extrem gut
Das würden sie einfach Top-Down-Clear nutzen, wollen die Decke aufmachen und Bodo, der öffnet auch mit einer Kugel den Kopf von Bio und von daher hinterher.
1.
2.
Der dritte wartet auf Side, ist eine 1-1-Situation. Ehrenbaba hat aber den Diffuser in der Tasche. Kann also versuchen, mit dem zu arbeiten. Es ist noch 1 Minute Zeit, also eine Menge Möglichkeiten, um Bio hier aus der Reserve zu locken. Setzt erstmal mit dem Plant an. Bio mit der Rotation in Richtung vom Hallway, will über Games auf die Side rotieren.
Er sieht ihn. Bio
schleicht und kriegt den Kill.
Bio kriegt den Kill. Gibt nicht auf, zieht Packbull raus. Es bleibt weiterhin richtig spannend.
In den letzten Sekunden geht dieser Kampf, er hört nicht auf, die Zeit tickt, der Diffuser muss jetzt sitzen, man versucht es, aber Nifso nimmt so viel Schaden von jeder Cam. Rorik holt noch einen weiteren Spieler, alles an Nifso und ist die Maestro-Cam am Ende des Tages. GK holen sich den Sieg, den bitteren, erkämpften Sieg. Zum 7:4 erneut am Ende doch nochmal gestellt.
Für Panahone. Wir sehen das auch hier, es wird probiert, ein bisschen eigene Utility zu destroyen. Beide kommen da drüben über, ich glaube, Exosuit ist der Call. Exosuit ist da der Call. Und Skipper, schöner One-Tap gegen Lambe. Somit wirkt die Runde schon fast als besiegelt. Das Kicker hier. Und der Blitz rennt los, rennt richtig auf sein. Man hört, der Flash geht durch. Hat doch irgendwie connected. Da ist der Oryx gegen die Wand. Oryx rennt gegen die Wand, ist blind, kommt durch die Wand, aber nicht durch. Man hat den Diffuser gut rausgeholt. Skipper zieht jetzt aber auch nochmal einen Kill. Und somit geht Packbull auf den Plant. Ich glaube nicht, dass Panon das gerade denyen kann. Wenn sie jetzt denyen könnten, würden sie sich die Runde sichern. Man stickt den Plant. 2:2 Post-Situation. Da ist Packbull, Rorik. Die können sich die finalen beiden Kills ziehen. Und somit gehen wir auf die 6:2 Führung von GK.
6:2 im Matchpoint steht, es ist die erste Map von einem Best.
Einfach Schlag auf Schlag.
Post-Plan-Situation, wieder eine 1-gegen-1-Situation. Skipper gegen Hoover. Zeit tickt und man weiß, wo sich die Spieler befinden. Die Smokes kommen, man versucht dieses für den eigenen Nutzen zu benutzen. Aber Vorsicht, der Killer ist da und wieder erneut. Das gibt es doch nicht, GK. In dem 1-gegen-1, man lässt wieder den Victory, den Gegner. Man gibt
raus, direkt geinjured, liegt dort auf dem Boden. 5:2. Das ist extrem schwer. Der Injure ist da. Man versucht jetzt hier nochmal aufzuheben, passiv zu spielen. Man sieht dort das. Guter Frag nochmal. Ausgleich ist da. Wir haben eine 3:3-Situation. Das ist natürlich überhaupt nicht gut für den ersten EC. Frank.
Gerade wirklich wie so ein Rebenscheinwerferlicht wirkt. Belandet und so in der Runde war gerade der Fahrer und der wollte nicht ausweichen. Der hat draufgehalten und hat sie einfach mal gnadenlos kalt gemacht, gerade alle.
Ja, im wahrsten Sinne.
Ja, er hat einfach draufgehalten. Und es macht er 1, 2, 3 und schwuppdiwupp war die Runde wieder vorbei. So kannst du auch Runden beenden. Regaming jetzt aber auf der Defense-Seite. Sie haben jetzt einfach noch eine kurze Verschnaufpause, müssen erstmal den Operator bannen auch erstmal prompt den Blitz rausbringen.
Straft wurde man und leider kann man nicht wirklich etwas aus der Situation rausarbeiten. Man versucht so noch ein bisschen etwas über Yellow, aber der Flank ist direkt da. Nicht wirklich eine Lösung. Volto jetzt mit dem Glas nochmal mit der Main Breach. Er hat die Smoke nochmal gepoppt, möchte sich irgendeinen Vorteil damit erschaffen, aber der originale Push, die erste Idee, die sie versucht haben, wurde komplett denied. Da war man noch vielleicht ein bisschen vorsichtig, als man die Smokes platziert hat, als mit dem Thermite direkt vorm Breach offen. Tja, jetzt, was muss Team Bertus machen? Nur nicht bieten. Oh mein Gott, das Brett hat gesessen. Washi nicht nur als Valkyrie, sondern auch mit der MPX swingt um die Ecke, drückt Volto einen direkt durch. Und Vertex gewinnt das mit einer Flawless.
Aber man muss auch sagen, sich die Smokes, also alle Zuschauer hier werden.
Jetzt ist Macho Man alleine gegen 2. Civil ein Treffer reicht, der liegt auf dem Boden oder ist gar tot. Und bei Lucid brauchst du ein paar mehr Treffer oder einen Kopfschuss. Aber Civil macht das ziemlich gut. Nutzt den Deimos-Track, weiß genau, okay, da ist er, ich nutze den Insel. Und ja, man redet vom Insel, Insel ist weg. Und jetzt ist Macho Man alleine, Lucid hält einen Long Angle, gewinnt den Gunfight mit Da Vinci. Nach Startschwierigkeiten gewinnen sie diese Runde und gehen damit mit 3:2 in Führung.
Die dritte für Da Vinci. Stärken und Schwächen.
Ja, genau. Also ne, man sieht hier ganz klar, T3 ist Corys Stärke, dafür T1 nicht.
Das lassen wir jetzt einfach so stehen.
Entschuldigung, muss ich zurücknehmen. Er macht einen super Analysten am Desk.
Das stimmt. Seine Ahnung.
Auch wichtig.
Richtig und richtig, der Diffuser liegt zwar jetzt, aber eine Minute 55 Sekunden sind noch circa auf der Uhr. 2 gegen 2. Eine Nade, 2 Smokes haben wir von der Seite von den Wallbangers. Das können sie natürlich fleißig ausnutzen. Das einzige Problem, was ich hier sehe, ist, dass man keine einzige Drohne mehr zur Verfügung hat. Keine Flanks, keine Drohne zum Nutzen. Bedeutet, alles muss gefacecheckt werden und gerade gegen die Defense, gerade gegen Schmari ist das so gefährlich. Der droppt jetzt in Lobby runter, jetzt hat man den Pinch kreiert. Die Bullets fliegen, aber die treffen leider alle nur Katsche. Er kann keine austeilen, gerade wenn er jetzt reinpiekt. Er hat diese DMA. Beide der Spieler spielen das gerade unglaublich ruhig und diszipliniert. Schmari natürlich vielleicht mit ein bisschen offensiveren Peak, aber der möchte sich hier auch natürlich das Ace gönnen.
Entspannt.
Eingenommen werden und Icox, der macht sie natürlich hier ganz schnell breit mit dem Blitz, geht auch direkt rein. Tomussi jetzt mit dem Double Kill. Er ist wieder zurück, der junge Mann, den wir gebraucht haben von der Seite vom Plunderstück. Der ist jetzt ein bisschen aufgewacht. Da kommt gleich der Triple Kill von ihm. Er sucht sich noch mehr. Der Caneo möchte ihn herausfordern. Die Pistole ist ausgepackt. Wer braucht das denn? Uiuiui. Der Quad Kill. Daya. Jetzt der letzte Mann, der steht. Und Tomussi, ich glaube, der hat einen großen Hunger auf diese Gegner. Sieht da jetzt noch gleich die Beine. Weiß, wo er sich befindet. Die Bullets kommen. Das Ace noch mit dazu. Was?
Welcome in everybody to the MEISTERSCHAFT. We have a wonderful day because the group stages are starting. I am Erebos here to host this wonderful, wonderful day of Siege. We got one match of best of 3 coming up. We have MEISTERSCHAFT up against the Spanish Inquisition. And what is a match of Siege without some casters? I would like to welcome Mighty and Eriker or Levy to join me for this wonderful best of 3. Go ahead and join me up.
Hello there. It's wonderful to be on stream, Erebos, casting, seeing MEISTERSCHAFT and the Spanish Inquisition today, facing off in a best of 3. I'm really excited for some good seeds today. Yeah. As far as I understand, Border is a bit of a non-standard pick for these guys. We're heading to that map first here. Playing Lair and Clubhouse on these more formulaic maps in the qualifiers itself. What do we think of these map picks?
Yeah, the map picks are very interesting, very, very interesting. I think that Border is one that is a little bit different than the other 2 within this set here, with Nighthaven Labs and Lair being the potential final map. Border is a little bit more aggressive. It's a little smaller and can get all over the place, whereas Nighthaven Labs and Lair are a little bit more standard and more strategic. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I think that between these two squads for Maestra Eska, they're definitely going to have the weight on their shoulders here, because I think that on paper they should theoretically be the favorites, although Spanish Inquisition are definitely going to be coming into this one hoping that they can get this one kicked off with a win. Mighty, what are we going to expect on Border?
I think on Border we will expect a lot of different layers of attacking and also defending, because the map is definitely inviting to play different styles in various maps, and not various maps, but in various rounds, of course. In general, the Spanish Inquisition would have to look to playing a widespread defense. Meanwhile, Maestra Eska needs to be aware of all these breaches and all these windows and doorways to lock them down and pretty much try to gain access to these key positions as soon as possible, because else, if you lose a lot of track and time here, the defenders will have their nose up and just pretty much break it all the way down if you're not able to move within the map.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you for the insight, but it looks like we are heading into the map, so good luck with the cast, and hopefully we have a banger map one.
I hope so too. You know, Border is a map that, you know, like it's an aggressive place called Hell in a Cell by some casters. You know, anything can happen in a best of one here. And with Spanish Inquisition starting on the defense, you know, who knows what's going to happen? Could be an upset.
And I hate to bring it to you and hate to break it to you, as I want to break it to all the other guys out there in the audience. We didn't have the time to do that before we was thrown into the map. But this is indeed not a best of one, it's a best of three.
Oh.
We're in group stages. Best of threes in group stages. Are we crazy or what? That is not something out of the ordinary, and that's for sure something that will be different for the teams as well. They've played two qualifiers with only best of one matches. They had to give it their all on one map, every single matchup, to just lead in forwards into the next round. Now they have one life that they can potentially lose out one of the maps in this best of three, but then on the second map they have to pick up pace, they have to defend themselves and pretty much work for it to get it back into potential decider. So also here something is very interesting. Both teams have had a long run on the qualifier and had to make it through multiple rounds to be able to qualify for this matchup, but now you don't have these long break times between rounds, between the new seeding is coming before the team has left and has opened up a new custom game. Now it's pretty much you have a few minutes break between map 1 and map 2, and you have to capitalize on your chances whatsoever every single round coming in, because else if you lose amplitude, you lose like your own mentality, and also you lose the flow of the game. Definitely this match can turn around from map 1 into map 2 and be a complete different game style. Well, in general, let's just talk about Maestra Eska and Spanish Inquisition. We have seen the bans. We're in the first round. We have a little bit of time left. Okay, defenders. We're banning out Azami and Mira. Meanwhile, we're banning out Monty the Shield and Ying on the attack. Which of these 4 bans, Levi, are the most interesting on your side?
I mean, I would say the defense bans are quite standard for Border. Often you see that Azami being banned out to hamper the East hold, and the Mira as well. Like it is just useful on every single side, on every single map. So the bans on the defense do not surprise me whatsoever. My eye turns immediately to that Ying being used for the execute utility. The Monty is also quite standard, you know, for those East takes. I think what the Spanish Inquisition here is trying to do is try to hold on to that East side area of the map for very long time, you know, banning out the Shield, banning out the Ying, bringing the Wamai here from Might onto that. So the first immediately the Shield being taken down by Maestro Eska and the
yeah. That is the first player being down and dusted. That's Evan that has to go. So the first real entry paths was indeed inserted towards the east side of that balcony, but also towards these east stairs. Joey had to go quite low on his HP bar in that gunfight, also losing the player on falls. But Joey's there to capitalize also on Danster, makes it a 2 kill streak for himself. Also Coldben is able to get out ranker. So that way we have ourselves a 4 against 2 scenario. Next interrogation's coming in.
A lot of heavy utility being dropped down. The Nomad, the Copper Pallet, the Demo is being dropped down very early. Ghost Riddick does bring it down to a 3-3 for the defense, but you know, the execute potential here isn't looking very good.
No, definitely not, as we shrink down the space possible to use for these attackers, because we have all these clusters, we have the breach open, but Flood definitely mis-peaks that as he over-peaks, being completely exposed, exposes himself wide and deeply, and that way is caught off guard very quick as he just doesn't hit his bullets.
Now down to a 2v2 with one player being on the main stairs side on West Main, one break room. The plant does go down in Archives here, with the defense being none the wiser. C4 missing on the default plant, and we are down to a post plant.
Yeah, they were not aware where that plan was committed, but also you see here the swing coming. Coleman just needed to commit that swing first on the very first attention. Gets back to that way. We have Coleman alone.
1v1. Now, can he close out this 1v1? 24 seconds left on the clock. Now, this is a very good gun versus very good gun fight, but Ghost Ridic just is the better. We call Ben checking the corners there.
And especially as we know for a sake, as I want to talk about, because meanwhile the round is still hot, we just haven't gun finished. Why are we swinging deep on bomb chassis? If we know for a fact the call out should have come, I threw the C4 bomb chassis. So bomb chassis is clear. He didn't plant there. Obviously, when you're in a 1v1 scenario, you won't go deep and away from the diffuser. You'll most likely either hold it from outside or on close proximity, but you will not like move away from the diffuser that much, and especially if you expose yourself that much, like you do on the bomb chassis. So for that sake, why are we swinging deep bomb chassis if we've called? The plant is not being committed there. There won't be a guy there. You know for a sake. Either way, there are 3 bomb spots that are plant spots that are so standardized. You have bomb chassis, you have doorway, and you have the window. Obviously, you peek in towards the window at first, because that's the first glance where you can be caught off guard when you're moving inside that room. Second of all, you have already ticked down the box of chassis, as I've spoken about, so you have to commit window check first, and then you know for a second, okay, if he's not outside window, or the plant is not committed close on window, he most likely is outside on the stairways or deep on that door. So I don't get why we swing the bomb chassis and lose the round that way, because the call out should have been there. I think there is a lack of, there's a general lack of communication.
Yeah, a bit of a miscommunication there for sure. Moving on to the second round, like my eyes immediately go to the Glass and Blitz combo being brought out by Martino, Wild, and Evan here. No Warden being brought out onto the side of Spanish Inquisition. They've banned the Ying here, so maybe they didn't think it was quite necessary enough. I'm really excited to see what these players will do here. Top floor at the bomb side again, they're repeating it, surprisingly enough.
Yep. But you see the read is there. Ranker is being called out by Fod, but Fod doesn't have the patience to wait for Ranker to rappel up there and loses half of his HP bar. A little bit unnecessary, as he could have just waited for the commit to come in there, and he would potentially have gotten Ranker in a better position there.
Next to Observer, we saw the 3 Goyo traps being committed onto the archive side, 2 on the shelf, 1 on the ground near the plant spot. So they definitely have some sort of idea that this push is coming archive side after all.
Yeah,
one of the Goyo traps being popped out now. Yep.
First Goyo is gone, second Goyo is now being blindsided, doesn't be able to be pulled out here without the smoke. Also the D-bangs are coming in by Maxton as he crosses the first cold, then is called off guard. Fod is able to withdraw and then called there by the second Goyo canister that goes open. The third is also open there. Fire only in the assist there, as he was popped from another player of the teammate of Fod. Spencer is contested below on the first floor, and Dustin has one of PD position, gets the first, gets a second one, Joey.
Oh my god.
Kill coming in here for MEISTERSCHAFT.
Yes, diffuser being stranded down in the middle of the bomb site. A lot of the smokes being gone.
For the Spanish Inquisition, as there also could have been a better team play that you just hold these cross and wait for a right call to then swing from bathroom, but doesn't matter. Then after that, you have built yourself a 4 against 2 scenario. What happens? Okay, you know for a sake, okay, Fod is still deep in armory, and you know for a sake, because you've had sound calls, that there's a guy deep within fountain. Well, so what do? You have one player that just stands and holds the pixel from archives inwards to Fountain, and you have one player in the name of Ghost Reddick that just jumps in on the passive window in office, and they pretty much just shrink it down and just say, okay, he's trapped. He doesn't have explosive. He doesn't have a shotgun. He can't roam away, because either way he roams, he either roams in the arms of Ghost Reddick or in the arms of the player that holds Archive's window. That way you pretty much cross it out and you have a 2-against-1 scenario, even though one of the two players within that scenario is in a very passive hold position. That way you pretty much just you cut the lines between the defenders, getting yourselves a better set, an advantage position, and an advantage for going in and committing that gunfight. And the same happens after the player in Fountain Falls, and you play the same game against Fault on the Armory. You spot them out, draw them out, and you know for sure where you're spawning at, and you yet again put yourself in a 2-against-1, 3-against-1 scenario, and Fault has nowhere to go.
Ben trying something a little bit sneaky there and spawn peeking archive, break room door there. Doesn't find the kill. Takes off about 25% of Evan's health there. Early gunshots being taken, but no picks yet.
No picks are set, but the pressure is real, and the first pick becomes just right when you mentioned it. Mike finds the first on Max Team, Joey finds the next on Evan, and that is a good start up here in the third round by the Spanish Inquisition, as they really need their game to get some rounds on the board for themselves. As we all know, Border is a map where you indeed should look into getting rounds on the board for yourself in the defense.
You know, that new Wamai C4 dropping yesterday has shown its head with Mike getting a kill with it. What do we think about Wamai generally now? A very big buff coming through.
Yeah, he's much more versatile now. Also, the pick rate you will see will definitely increase with that C4, as he's now not only an operator that you have played on the ROM before that C4 came into his equipment pocket, but now as he has that C4, also you have gained the access to play verticals. And when you know for a sake how well that the AUG is, how well the MP5K is on that Wamai, now that you have the C4 as well, he's just so much more versatile now that the pick rate will definitely increase, just because he's so much more just because he gained that versatility.
Yes. A one-man army is what I've been seeing being said. You know, the other thing, being the shield, it has not been seen in this game thus far, with Ghost Reddick finding a double out of nowhere onto my...
This guy's insane.
Yes, it is. It's just, the tier 1 experience is just coming through. Ranker does go down. It's a 1v2, but perfectly doable with the AK in his hands.
Yeah,
Fuser being down... The Fuser being down in main, so he has to just go down. Spanish Inquisition knows that he doesn't have the Fuser and is just hunting for the picks. They're not giving it to him. Smoke utility going out. He still has 2 in his pockets with an impact on the Ella. Server room cross being held. This is looking quite bad for Ghost Reddick with 10 seconds on the clock now. Walking into
passive cross.
Yes.
Colban just waited for his moment. Won't be contested in this round. Will get out of the pockets from MEISTERSCHAFT and go into the pocket of the Spanish Inquisition. Yet again, we have to name it. You also saw the awareness and also the experience within that player of Ghost Reddick, and also in general the entirety of the roster of MEISTERSCHAFT. When he jumped out again into waiting, as soon as he was attempting to jump out that window, his aim and his crosshair goes directly up on that balcony towards the break door, because you know for a fact if a player calls in, okay, he is in waiting, he has roamed into tellers, he wants to jump out again, that is the first position where a player in the defense will contest it, because he has so much better position on that doorway. So we contest that if, in that case, the Spanish Inquisition has a player up there that will hold the vertical and try to catch you off guard jumping out the window. Great awareness game. But on the other hand, MEISTERSCHAFT tries to like find a read, find a cue onto that smoke player to then, you know for a sake, there is a guy in showers. You saw the awareness in general from Ghost Reddick that the player is indeed there. And you also know for a sake, okay, the fusers drop down in that construction area, and you will for that sake also know that the player of Colban on the other will play close to that diffuser. So you will pretty much concern yourself about the player that will have the second cross on you before you then go for the direct commit. Direct commit didn't have the time for it, but else Ghost Reddick 6-0 still after 3 rounds. Dropping 2 kills on average every single round. Definitely a force to be reckoned with, and also a player that can be very, very tempting to try and hunt out for the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah. Going back to the top of the 4th round, the bans coming through, Ella and Nomad. To me, this screams one thing and one thing only from both teams is that they want aggression. They're removing the operators that can limit that run-out potential, limit that flank potential. And on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, we're limiting the Ela, which gives Evan a free ticket to play Blitz as he chooses here.
Yet again, a Blitz take and another shield going into the Rosses. I still like the meta. I still like the teams that like to bring shields, especially when you have a designated shield player. I'm a little bit concerned how that will change the next season when we get like the first real anti-shield gadget again. We had the time when we had Clash in every single roster, every single game, just to try and force out these shield players. Then we had an absence where a lot of shield players stopped playing shields because of the Clash. Now it's pretty much balanced out, but I'm a little bit eager to see which teams and how teams will change their playstyle when that gadget hits next season. But at this point, still, shields are definitely in the rosters and have a deserved spot.
Oh yes, and a designated shield player can be so valuable for a team. Having that spearhead, having that option to bring out the shields at any time is a very, very valuable thing to have, all in all.
Yeah, and also
like
the switches that you can have with it. It's like in the first moment you play passive and you bring in calls. You like pretty much, as you mentioned, you go in as the head of the spear. You roam into the doorways. You look in. You gather until you speak with your teammates that they can reposition and maybe grab a few grab an opening kill or just in general an opening engagement. And then out of nowhere you can aggress in and you just as a blitz you just push it in, push down, and get these kills sorted. And as we see here, we're pushing in. As I mentioned, we're on the plan. Goes for it, and then so they move back on it. Goes on a double kill. He catches these players trying to roam back. He's cutting the entirety on the bomb spots. He's cutting the flanks, and we're just humming other players, especially with FCC. The awareness is there yet again where FOD is located at.
Now we see the shield at Evan pushing FOD here, and the attack of MEISTERSCHAFT will get around with Ghostridic also finding the head of his teammate Mateen there in the middle of the battle. You know, that shield is just an ever-present threat, and as the Spanish Inquisition has chosen not to ban the Blitz here, I don't think we'll see a reason for Evan to ever stop playing it on this attack half.
And I would just ask you one thing, Levy. Did you see what was the big deal between these 3 rounds that MEISTERSCHAFT won in comparison to the round that they lost? There's one key element that is different that cost them that round.
I would say decisiveness is the element here that I've noticed. Like MEISTERSCHAFT will finds the win condition there. You know, they realize that hey, like we can force this side of the map here, and they just go for it. Yeah. On the bathroom defense there, you know, they kind of like positioned themselves outside the east. They couldn't really get a foothold in, and that costed them both time and manpower there. And that's why the Spanish Inquisition was able to take them out.
MEISTERSCHAFT is depending a little bit on that they first entry into the building, not the entry kill. That I'm not speaking about the first entry interaction where they're in their first gunfights. I speak about like implementing presence on the map, getting from the outside to the inside, like pretty much the first entry into the building. That is the key thing. MEISTERSCHAFT has succeeded 3 times finding an entry path and just pretty much putting on pressure on the defenders straight from that first entry point and gaining access to the first and most important key positions straight from scratch. Meanwhile, we had the only round that Spanish Inquisition round number 3-1 so far, where the Spanish Inquisition were able to completely knock down and take out that first opening engagement and also key position from East. They played against East with full strength and full force, gained 2 kills, and Spanish Inquisition, they didn't know how to answer upon that as they tried to fall back down into the first one, played a linear, but also in the linear they were immediately stopped. As we also see here, once again Spanish Inquisition leading and trying to bring force against the players of MEISTERSCHAFT, but they are putting themselves in position to have eyes on the target, on the map, and they pretty much do not stop. As soon as they have eyes on target, they're positioning themselves from the calls of Evan on the shield, and they're pretty much just bringing all the mayhem they can do.
The Ranker finding a triple kill on the Capitao. Their plan is going down, 35 seconds on the clock, and it is just not a plausible retake. Just textbook there. You find the opening, you get the kills, you press the advantage, you get the plant down, and you clean up. Nothing else to say.
And by that, you just saw the wall spray out of nowhere. You don't have the sound calls because he's pretty much silent stepping towards Fountain, but you have the player of Capitao that definitely will see the shadow. He will have the sound that there's someone crawling in, going into close proximity. He would just call, okay, he's approaching Fountain. You see Evan is pushing down the hallway towards office on the double doors. Meanwhile, you just need to spray and pray through. Even if you don't hit him through that wall, you can pretty much just also just force the player to turn around, and you can force Coldban on that in that scenario to just try and walk back, fall back into that hallway, try and play it through the hallway, where he will then potentially run into the hands of Evan. That will be more than happy about just flashing in with his split shield and just pretty much wrecking down with a pistol in that case. But there, just pure communication and team play, and you just see the experience coming in here.
Spanish Inquisition's team lineup is they clearly have identified the problem of the entry path and are bringing utility to play against it. You know, the Valkyrie has been a staple in the team cups now, but we're seeing the Castle being brought out, we're seeing the Legion being brought out, seeing the Melusi being brought out. You know, anything and everything to slow down the attack from entering the building.
Yeah, just pretty much trying to make it as hard as possible for MEISTERSCHAFT to like pretty much implement that pressure points, these in general, just making it hard for them to not only bring themselves in to the round, but also like putting on the pressure points directly from scratch. We need to win some time to be able to put ourselves in a better position, but it doesn't work here either, as Joey is directly caught off guard as soon as he rotates back on side. And we're already onside yet again. You see how fast these engagements are going, because yet again, the special position, they're not aware of these things happening. They only have one player onside, and you see MEISTERSCHAFT, they're calling it out, they're spotting it out in the drone phase, and they will definitely punish it from scratch, as they just know for a sec the spot is free. You can just pretty much put the pressure on, push onside, go for the fast take, and that is it.
The weakness of our workshop was clearly like seen from there. They realized, hey, this part of the map is completely free. Let's just go for it. They bring the Finka, they bring the sledge. We are going full steam ahead to the site, and they get the plant down, and there's that.
Yeah.
It is.
And round 6.
Yeah,
round
very
6,
good
Levy.
read from MEISTERSCHAFT. Round 6. We have bans, yes, of course. And as we talk about bans, we saw some bans in the first half that were interesting, but also very standardized for the maps, as you spoke about it. So I just want to have you back on these bans. Just run us through them. All right. Well, we have the Mountain and the Zombie being banned out first. Again, very standard for a lot of maps. You know, the Azami being used to hold the east position for a long time, the Montaigne being the spearhead of the attack, gathering intel, just being a general nuisance to the defense here. Let's see what the other bans are. All right, we will be seeing the Deimos and Thorn be banned out. You know, the Thorn has been gaining a lot of popularity since her change in last December. You know, those Thorn traps are doing a lot of more damage now, arming quite fast. She's shot up in popularity in the meta very, very quickly, and we see that ban be a staple in a lot of teams' lineups and maps. The Deimos also being a very popular attacker ever since their introduction to the game, just gathering that intel, that kill potential, those nades. You know, it is a staple and a very good operator. I'm not surprised with these bans at all.
Definitely not. I will also say these point out the direction that we wanna see it from the eyes of MEISTERSCHAFT, as they pretty much just ban out that living drone, as we talked about it. Evan pretty much showcased what a lethal weapon these shields are and what role they can play in a map like Border. So that they bring out that, or better to ban out that Monty, definitely speaks and reads for itself. Same thing happens on Deimos, as we just pretty much see the MEISTERSCHAFT will play in very expanded defense hold into top floor. They will most likely expand all the way down to east, and also hold in CCTV, as the Spanish Inquisition try to do. Just pretty much take as much space as they possibly can. And that way, if you ban out the Deimos, you take away the option by the Spanish Inquisition to just pinpoint down given roamers, given key position players from MEISTERSCHAFT, and try to lure him out of his position, make him a little bit try to make him feel uncomfortable in his own skin in that position that he's trying to uphold, and also up straight down, and that way he can be punished out of that position and then be pushed out by the Spanish Inquisition. Meanwhile, the Spanish Inquisition, they forced out like entry operators that deny entry or make it hard to do certain entries with the with both the Azami and also the Thorn. As you talk about, the Thorn doesn't need a declaration, as that trap does so much damage anymore. But on the other hand, Azami, all of these key spots that you can do with the Azami are just pretty much crazy.
Yeah. Looking at the lineups here, with Coldban going down very early to rank, it feels like whatever Spanish Inquisition has brought on the pin, of course, the Grim going down very early, that MEISTERSCHAFT will have an answer for. You know, they have brought out the Blackbeard to try to be the spearhead. We have Evan on the Clash here, just totally shutting that down. No matchup does go out, and maybe getting, finding the kill onto Evan there. Clash going down, the Blackbeard having free hands to do as he pleases now. The Snake was being brought by Unfalls there, but being swapped over to the Nomad with great success. Mateen finds the Bleed of Might, with both shields now going down and a man advantage to MEISTERSCHAFT.
And we have to talk about it. It will most likely be a serious matter if Spanish Inquisition aren't able to pull off and also adapt their own playstyle that way, that they will definitely bring some more force against the players of MEISTERSCHAFT, because it just feels like you have two duos playing. You have the duo of Ghost Red and Ranker playing and knocking down all activities towards off office, and you also have Mateen and Dancer locking down the positions towards the armory locker side. And it's pretty much, you need to bring pressure, and you can't go in solo. You have to do it duos or trios on these duos, because else it will just be more than unpleasant to play against.
Yes, I think that is what we saw being attempted by Ben and Might there at the start of the round. You know, the Blackbeard pushing that limited swing, the angle was not successful that time. Going down below a minute. Yeah, Dancer finds the kill and Ghost finds another. It's a 4v1 with 50 seconds left. Make it a 3v1, make that a 3v0.
Yeah, and I just want to point out again. Yes, of course, you try and storm out the duo in office. What happens? Both players dip. One dips down in Fountain, goes onside, drops down. The other one drops directly from the hatch in office, and you go and take retakes back from Metal Stairs, just because you know for a sec there won't be a player on Metal Stairs. We also have a player that holds down the angle all the way from CCTV, so there's no one more in CCTV. There's no one that goes into the break that has a deep angle. You also have no one that will stand in the 90s, because you have one guy that can swing all the way down to Beeper, so you have cleared these areas, so you know for a sec you can roam these stairs back up, and as soon as that happens, you implement yourselves in these given key positions that you normally would hold to prevent these rotates from happening. You rotate in CCTV, break. You have one player there that cuts off the entirety of roam paths and also fallback paths of the Spanish Inquisition. You have one player that roams back into your armory. You have one guy that forces directly from 90 towards the Fountain. And as soon as the one guy in Fountain falls, because he thinks that there's still a player in Fountain, you have a 1 against 4 scenario with 3 guys pushing from 3 different angles, because you've pinpointed down where the last player is coming in. He's coming from office, going into Fountain as well, and he has nowhere to go. Does he go onside? There's one guy there. Does he fall back into office? There's one guy there. Does he try to aggress into Fountain and play through these non-barricaded walls towards Metal and 90s? There's one guy there that will pinpoint you down and knock you down, because MEISTERSCHAFT know for sake every angle that is possible that is standardized in that spot where they just need to spray through the wall. The awareness is a big key here, why the scoreline is 6-1. And I wanted to say it before the round happened in round number 7, that this can go into a very quick one if the Spanish Inquisition do not find reads on MEISTERSCHAFT straight from scratch in round number 7. Now we have it happened. We are on match point 6-1. The Spanish Inquisition needs to find reads desperately now, because they won't have a new round coming up for them if they don't.
Yeah, this is do or die territory, and my eyes go to the Dokkaebi here being, Unfalls getting a kill onto Mateen and Ben finding Ghost Riddick, the former being very good on this map now, 10 and 3. The Mira having already placed down the utility, it is a terrible loss, but a loss nonetheless.
I would just name it as a win. This is a lifeline thrown towards the Spanish Inquisition by their players as they find 2 opening engagement. Now they need to pinpoint down the next player of MEISTERSCHAFT, because now this is the first round where the players of MEISTERSCHAFT, they're split so far away from each other that they can't play in duos. We have the vertical, and there's no one to hold the vertical. You're trying to take all eyes from the players of MEISTERSCHAFT going towards the player of Clash of Evan, but you have no one to back you off on the main site. As time ticks down, you have no diffuser in hand. It's all about Dance and Ranker to bring it back, and the Spanish Inquisition only have 3 more players, 3 against 2 scenario. The scenario in the name of advantage points is shrinking down for the Spanish Inquisition as Master is closing in this round.
Yeah, we still have the Blackbeard on board, we still have the calls from the Dokkaebi, and Unfalls does find Denster there. A 3v1 clutch for the Illa of Ranker here seems a bit implausible. Cole going out now, it does find a pick. On the Blackbeard now. Okay. And the Blackbeard might does fight Rancor.
Okay, that knife did not commit because he put that Blackbeard shield push in is more than lucky timing. Because if we have to break it down clear, that knife was, in my eyes, a split second before the push coming in, the push ability from the shield of the Blackbeard, because we know for a fact that shield bash is the only thing that up counters a knife being kicked in by a defender. Only if it's simultaneously or just a little bit delayed to that knife. That knife was indeed at least half a second before that bash was committed. So in my eyes, that bash should not have changed anything. And if that would have been the case, the Blackbeard would have been exposed, and this would have been a 1v1 scenario, where the gap also for the last player with the Spanish Inquisition would have been too wide to just deal down into 1-on-1 scenario. So that could have gone all the other way if MEISTERSCHAFT would have gotten that knife through.
Yeah, it is very much a game of inches there, and the Spanish Inquisition managed to hold on to their lifeline. Even swapping off of the shields here onto the Wamai, I see we have a bit of C4 maxing, as you know, the Tier 1 broadcast like to call it, along with the Pulse, Wamai, and Mira being brought off from the defense here. A lot of intel from the attack, you know, the Dokkaebi, the Blackbeard gathering intel as the Spearhead, the Snake, they brought out the Grim, you know, that should not be a problem for this defense here. Now, my question here is, have they droned out that pulse? Do they know that there is also counter intel being gathered on them as well?
I think that they will be aware. The Spanish Inquisition, they have now on the attack showed that they are aware of points and they are droning a lot, trying to gather intel, which is pretty much just prevent themselves from doing and committing minor problems and also minor faults, to just give themselves the best chance of winning it back. You see here, they're aware of the poles, joining all poles as soon as we have spotted him out by Colban. Also, you try to mock him out of his position, try and lure him into a position that he can't win. Joey finds the first Rancor, Colban finds Evan. Dancer is the first one to find an answer. Colban, though, closes it down into a 3 against 4 scenario. Could have been a 5 against 3 if Spanish Inquisition were able to pull their hat out of that sling coming in here by Dancers. He just pretty much tries to pull the Spanish Inquisition back into gunfights that they can't win.
Yeah, that Snake going down, that's a lot of utility still in pocket, you know, 3 scans off of the gadget there to find out where these players are. Dokkaebi still on board though, however. Let's see. Mateen going for the east stairs here, maybe going for a little bit of a vertical play onto the hatches if the Spanish Inquisition commits to the full lateral push, which they do seem to be going for now. No, unfortunately, going for the east side take. They have intel on the castle, getting hit with a nade and a Dokkaebi call at the same time. Bone burned. Ghost Rider does find a pick on the quad. Mateen being found out on the site with the SMG-12. 2v3 with a minute 15 on the clock.
You just see also the linear base where you're not playing together in the same room, but you have a linear line between Ghost Reddick and Dancer. They are able to pinpoint down multiple positions to pinpoint down and have double crosses on lobby. They have it into construction, but the read is a little bit too late for Dancers. He is not able to pick up that pace and also get into the commit where Ghost Reddick is being pushed out. Great timing by Spanish Inquisition as they pretty much tighten the sling around the neck from MEISTERSCHAFT in the right moment when the read isn't there. The communication is not there by MEISTERSCHAFT to say, okay, I will get pushed now. You need to have my back on the double angle. Well, that is just pure timing coming in by the Spanish Inquisition as they yet again shrink down the scoreline into a 6-3. And MEISTERSCHAFT looked very easy for them to pick down these first 6 rounds. I have to name it as it was because they gained momentum straight from the board in the very first 2 opening engaging rounds and have never slacked down. Yes, had a minor mistake here coming in round number 3, but then they still had that momentum. They came back, they fought back, they did a small adjustment in their lineup, and still they're bringing that momentum in. And right now, as soon as they won these 6 rounds, they're on match point. They're tempting to slack down a little bit. The team play is not as clear as it was before. The gaps between the players and defense is getting wider, spread from away from each other. Makes it a little bit hard to play alongside each other and also try and help each other out in these given scenarios where you obviously should try to put yourself in scenarios where it is 2 against 1, 2v2s, 3v2s, just to prevent the Spanish Inquisition of just over pushing your lines and giving them these scenarios that you pretty much have yourself, because MEISTERSCHAFT had multiple scenarios where they played 3v2s, 3v1s, 4v1s even. going in from their own attacks into the defending. Just because they wanted to make it as hard as possible to move around for the defenders. They want to make it as unpleasant for the defenders to move around and feel unsafe at every single step they took. Now it's all about the Spanish Inquisition. They're doing the same, and MEISTERSCHAFT just needs to find a lead to break through the lines of the Spanish Inquisition, and that will then be the neck breaker from or for the Spanish Inquisition, to be fair.
Spanish Inquisition positioning for an east side take again with the Blackbeard as the spearhead. We have 2 people outside on east and actually 3 people outside on east and 2 on the valley side. I'm tempted to see how Evan on the smoke deals with this Blackbeard here. Can he stall out for enough time that we have a low time count execute for the side of the Spanish Inquisition? And this Blackbeard has been causing a fair bit of problems to the side of MEISTERSCHAFT in this game, to be fair. I have to give it to Might here with the Twitch clearing up the utility on east.
Might will be put down into a lot of pressure here as Evan is just crawling a slight meter back towards that 90. It's coming out and we tried to pinpoint down these first opening positions. Colburn down, first player to be down in that engagement. Will be rest back, but also Might and Joey have to fall down and drop a lot of HP here as Might finds the first kill on Evan though. Will drop down themselves and Danster and Ranked are able to pull it back and get the advantage for themselves, even though the Spanish Inquisition had the opening engagement and got the first kill.
4v3 for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT now with the attackers being very low on health. Joe does find Rank on the glass. A fight being taken on east with Ghost retreating back to the bridge. He's aware oh, nasty shot. Almost gets the second onto the Nomad. 2v2 with a minute 50 on the clock.
But you see how important it is to go for these refrags when the gaps are that tiny as they are. You have to commit in, go for these gunfights and make it happen for yourself. And you need to try to win out these gunfights, make these refrags count, because that will indeed be such a big deal breaker if you get these engagements for yourself and you win these out to make it an even scoreline. Now we have the unpleasant advantage for the Spanish Inquisition that they're so low on HP. You need to come in for these kill streaks as Zanzer gets the first one, folds Copeland there, yet again closes the gap, gets the kill for himself. And it's only about if we can spot on Martini, spots on Copeland.
Oh,
Maxine does see the Twitch doesn't see him stepping out of the box of the smoke, as we will have ourselves the first map going into the hands of MEISTERSCHAFT with a 7-3 scoreline.
yes.
God damn, what a map it was.
It was truly.
Yeah, it was fuely. There was a lot of heat in it, and I'm just so hyped for the second map. But we two casted it, and we have indeed a third guy that was witnessing this map in the back of the stage, and I want to have him back. Erebos, how did you see the map?
Yeah, that match was absolutely fantastic. Almost coming back was the Spanish Inquisition, and it really was just a map of shields on the attack. On MEISTERSCHAFT's attack, they utilized the blitz. They were a little bit more dynamic on the attack. A lot more of their guns were firing, which led to a more decisive attacking side, whereas for the side of the Spanish Inquisition, it really was just Might on that Blackbeard, dragging Spanish Inquisition round by round forward, and they really could have done it, but in that final round, Might getting caught, I'm not even sure how. The bullets just happened to clip him and deal enough damage to down him, and unfortunately, that was a really big difference in that final round to close it out for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. But I mean, it really just was interesting. Erica, what do you think was the main deciding factor on that map of Border, which was so insanely aggressive?
Well, as Mighty talked about on the broadcast a lot, it is just the experience between these players, the reads that they were able to make, especially on one of the earlier rounds. You know, Ghost Rider getting the couple kills and going below and stopping those C4s from coming up to deny the plant. You know, these mid-round adaptations or even late-round adaptations for the next round. Like, hey guys, they're doing this. Let's do this next round. You know, that is just the experience speaking there, and it is very evident who has the more experience in this matchup.
All right. Well, Mighty, next map is going to be Night Haven Labs. What do we think about Night Haven Labs? What do we think is going to be different compared to this map of Border? And who do you think is going to take the win on it?
Okay, just to mention that out. Night Haven Lab is a map that has some similarities to the map of Border. You have a lot of breaches that are like the opening towards the bomb sites, and also opening up these first key positions that you want to take in the attack, and also you want to try to defend and try to pin down as much as possible, and just try to take away as much time as possible in the defense from the attackers. But in general, if we just talk about it, MEISTERSCHAFT, they have 3 shot callers. They have 1 IGL and they have 3 shot callers. And that is the big thing coming in here that will cause damage and mayhem for the guys of Spanish Inquisition if they're not able to stop that from happening. You yet again saw on Border, the guys of Spanish Inquisition, they wanted to play widespread defenses. They wanted to have an A game in roaming. They wanted to just take within as much space as it was possible for them. What happens, MEISTERSCHAFT? They drone through to get intel, and you have at least 2 shot callers just immediately seeing where the gaps are, where the openings are, and they say, okay, if we jump in here, we go into that window, we can slither right through on the bomb spot. We only need to open 1 breach, and we're on site. We can go plan in the first 35 seconds. And you're rushing over the entirety of the Spanish Inquisition's defense line, and that is something that the Spanish Inquisition definitely needs to keep on their mind. That their opponent are consisting about 1 IGL that has a damn load of experience, and they have 3 shot callers. That is the big lethal weapon that they should definitely keep in mind, and especially now on Night Haven Labs, where we have even more wooden floorage. You need to be aware of MEISTERSCHAFT will play verticals in the defense. They will prevent you from playing verticals in the attack, as we've seen. Levy just talked about it. You have the experience in the roster of MEISTERSCHAFT that they mid-round or late round can do an adaptation saying, okay, we will commit to a plant now, we will have a passive plant hold, we need 1 guy down below that is just aware of the position that we don't get verticals being played against us, either on the plant or in the defense plant hold.
Yeah, wonderful insight, but we're going to head to a very, very short break, and we'll be back with map 2.
Der hat einfach das Rehouse gebraucht.
Gut los, Hero hat man sich rausgenommen. Allerdings Lomo mit dem Kill gegen Schwarzi. 4 gegen 3. Der Drop, der Push, der Engage, der muss jetzt perfekt sein. In den letzten 15 Sekunden. Ansonsten holt sich Comeback den Win. Und es sieht nicht gut aus, Ryzen. Das muss ich zugeben. Salzstreuer holt sich Nero wieder mit dem Kill gegen Demon. Jetzt hier der nächste Gunfight. 3 gegen 1, 2 gegen 1. Und am Ende ist es Comeback, die sich hier den Sieg holen. Die
das größere Scope hat. Und Porsche, der muss eigentlich noch entern und planten. Da kommt das C4 geflogen, kann nicht connecten. Noisy zieht es aus der Luft und er hält den Angle. Wer trifft er? Wer trifft er diesen ersten Schuss? Noisy braucht nur einen Schuss, ist er down. Noisy down, 1 gegen 1. Und es ist Panax am Ende gegen Pushy mit dem Double Kill. Und das war einfach clean gemacht. Und Project XY geht hier auf Map und Matchpoint auf eine Defender-Sided Map.
Ja, und wieder so eine Runde, die sich da im oberen Stockwerk, die wirklich...
Okay. Haben sie schön gemacht, haben auch schön umgebaut, aber ich würde trotzdem, also ich glaube mit Ben muss ich nochmal über dieses Striker EMP Hardbridge reden. Okay, Mark 40 holt sich hier den Entry-Pick auf Planted, was war das denn? Stark! Holy shit, ist das etwa die potenzielle 2. Runde? Gebreached haben die...
Einer ist. Wo ist der Zweite? Die Schüsse geben es her und jetzt weiß man ganz genau von der Seite von Team Alpha, wo die Spieler sind. Und die Frage für die Troy ist, wo sind denn die Spieler von Alpha? Ramsey mit dem Quad-Kill jetzt in der Runde, alles auf Planted, 1 gegen 2, es liegt am ihn jetzt, ob diese Runde seins ist oder nicht, und es wird nicht seins sein. Ramsey holt sich das Ace in Runde Nummer 4 gegen Team Alpha. Spielplatz einnehmen können auf den Rafters. Wunderschöner Kill. Aber Vorsicht, da ist noch ein Zweiter, der wartet sich noch auf sich. Shiro noch mit dem Zweiten noch mit dazu. Wunderschön. Vielleicht kann man sich hier noch einen Dritten holen. Schade, dass dann vertikal versucht man gegen zu spielen. Man ist in der Bar und Stage. Kann man nicht mehr viel machen. Auf einmal Ryzen. Sie fallen nacheinander. Immer wieder.
Nero jetzt mit dem Kill gegen Seilstreuer. Max holt sich Demon 3 gegen 2 Situationen. Man kann wieder ein bisschen ausgleichen, aber Shiro, der hat ja gerade hier wirklich Head-Aim des Todes. Und der scheint hier noch nicht aufzuhören. Er ist noch am Start, hält hier weiter in Comeback im Game. Bekommt jetzt hier nochmal ein kurzes Spritzchen vom Doc, damit er auch wieder voll belastbar ist und sich in den nächsten ziehen kann. Shiro mit dem Quad-Kill. Der Junge, der ist unglaublich. Also wenn er nicht so gut wäre, dann würde ich schon fast sagen, der hat was an. Der ist da schon bereit, um sich ein Opening zu ziehen. Aber bislang bekommt er hier noch nicht viel Futter.
Ganz versucht es immer wieder. Schon kritisch. Sieht den Gegner, aber auch er weiß, wo er ist. Versucht so ein paar Schüsse rauszuschießen, aber der Gegner, der hitzt sich gerade noch einen Strang, noch nicht ganz rauszupieken. Währenddessen von der anderen Seite nimmt man schon mal ein bisschen Raum ein. Die ersten paar Toxic Babe Canister gehen auch schon raus. Maus immer noch im Spawn, weiß immer noch, dass der Legion da ist. Es schadet nur ein kleiner Headshot, eine kleine Kugel. Da hätten wir schon den ersten Spieler weg von dieser Runde. Und schau dir an, er ist immer noch im Spawn. Es ist immer noch dieser Gunfight. Also er will auch nicht locker lassen. Schau's dir an.
Ja, da kommt es natürlich drauf an, wer holt sich hier den Kill. Ich meine, man hat ihn im Spot ja gefangen, also im Spawn gefangen so ein bisschen. Man kann ihn jetzt gut erstmal fernhalten von seinem Team. Jetzt landet man auch die ersten Shots. Also Maus, der kommt nicht weiter.
Aber Arco auf der anderen Seite.
Entropy hat auf dieser Map hier ihr Comeback zum Best of. And so, we are back yet indeed with another map coming in. We're still in the same matchup. What we are having a best of 3 coming in here. So the first map went into the books of MEISTERSCHAFT with a striking scoreline of 7-3. Now we are popping in for the second map of the day, and that is the map pick of the Spanish Inquisition. Nighthaven Labs. We have talked about the map. We have talked about the key scenarios that we will definitely attempt to look into, especially these things of playing vertical. A lot of wooden floors, we need to be aware of these verticals coming in. We have staircases for late rotations and late flanks coming in. That is yet another thing that we both have to keep in mind in the names of the defenders, especially because they will be caused to run these down. But on the other hand, before we go into this map and into the very first round, my good friend Levi, take us away with the bans.
Yeah, and about Nighthaven, I would be extremely surprised if I see anything else than the double electricity being taken out from the hands of MEISTERSCHAFT. You know, the Bandit and the Kite are just so strong on this map. Maybe a mirror for the third round, but I'd be very surprised if we see anything else. On the side of the attack, you know, the meta is getting the hard breach out, as we see here with Ace being taken out. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Hibana or a Thermite, or even a Shield as the Spanish Inquisition, like their Blackbeard in the last map, very much.
Yeah, but it's totally understandable. If you have a player like Evan. Evan has so much experience playing shields. He has so much experience playing T2, T1. Like, you just see the name of Wild is not to be like forgotten in his name, where he's crawled together all that experience, and he is definitely unpleasant to play against when he is popping out these shields. So as we've seen on the first map, there's definitely he's definitely a force to be reckoned with on shields, both in the attack and also as in the defense. But this very first round, we'll play on the mirror, and I have to name it as it is, and I will lead you over to it. Levi, playing mirror on a bomb spawn like this, and better said, letting the defenders allow to play mirror and have mirror available, not banned out. May that be a big problem for this spot?
Oh, it is a big problem depending on where the players are. You know, we mainly see two different strategies. One is on the inner side of the bomb site, you know, on those the connector wall, looking over the connector. The other one that we usually see is on the breach itself, looking outside. So you can pop the mirror mid breach and maybe C4, maybe impact cricket. You know, that will cause problems, or at least a slowdown on the side of the position. And we see the Thermite of Dro being brought out here, and that is prime prey if they are indeed on the outside.
And as we have seen it multiple times, it will definitely be about these first opening engagements. I'm a little bit concerned about seeing Spanish Inquisition play against MEISTERSCHAFT on the defense first here, as we've seen how well this map still works on defense. I will name it out as we have done it multiple times before. That grand final that we saw at SI a few 2 years ago against Furia against FaZe, where we had 12 rounds in peace, in defense, winning it out. It's not as crucial anymore as it was back then, but yet again, it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And as we see here, Evan on the breach, turning out that thermite gadget.
So it is, as we say, actually that thermite gadget being placed very high there. The mirror check couldn't quite get it. Rank does find it on the prone position of the 2-barrel. So that is one thermite charge down, 2 more to go.
Ooh, Ranker finds the opening engagement. It just pops up there a little bit. He's on the floor, prowling beneath the mirror window. Stands up, spots on the first player immediately, and gets the first kill on the boards. Kolben yet to the next player that will get some damage. His name might falls and cause some damage onto Ghost Relic. We have the engagement. Might finds the second one and takes it a double against Ranker. So first advantage point caught here by the special position. C4 goes out by Evan. Doesn't find anyone though.
4v3 for the attack with Goldman being very low on health here. The zombie setup still being alive on the rafters side here. That will need to be cleared out should Spanish Inquisition want to advance from IT.
Definitely not be an easy one.
No, absolutely not. But we've seen very heavy utility in taking down on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. That Clash dying first from Coast Rick is not ideal.
We're aware that he's close there.
And letting the fish side be taken by Might should he want to not actually go for that, but instead go for the window. Now Denster being dying to FOD. 2v4 for the side of Spanish Inquisition on the attack.
Yeah, and we definitely see the sling around the neck is tightening. Spanish Inquisition are putting on some pressure, and MEISTERSCHAFT definitely needs to find a clue to clear it up and make it an even, as we have yet spotted on the first player here on top waterfall stairs. So Commit is coming in here. We are not aware as Might just pushes his knob. As here, Evan is not aware of the position coming in. He has found himself pinched down in the middle of 3 different approaches and will be caught off guard by at least one of them, as this first and very round finds it into the pocket of Spanish Inquisition as they find a clue and yet find a way to not only adapt themselves, put themselves into a better position, play it as a team, as a unit, but every single scenario that we saw in that round, you see Spanish Inquisition, they spot out the player, they try to isolate them successfully, and then play it in 2v1 or 3v1 matters. And that way, MEISTERSCHAFT, they can watch one angle, they can try to swing to the second one, but they won't find the third.
Turns out Might doesn't need that Blackbeard to be the spearhead, finding 3 on the first round here. Now we're going down towards assembly and tank for the bomb site here. We have an echo coming out from Evan here. And interesting picks. We have no form of breach around, no tuber around, no mirror here. So the breaches will get open. It is going to be about plant denial for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT.
And if that might be if that will be the case, they will definitely have a bigger and better part of this round as they had in the previous one, as it seems like a little bit that MEISTERSCHAFT overslept getting into these opening engagements, and in general into the engagements against the Spanish Inquisition. Try to put yourself in better position that you can team out into 2v1 or 2v2 scenarios. Predator said be able to be in position where you can go for these refrags, as we just saw how important these refrags were on the map of Border.
We're seeing a very heavy coming out from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT Mateen on the top floor, with the rest of his teammates being either down in basement or Denster being in cafeteria, holding down the cafeteria and kitchen side of the map. Entry into IT here, Ram being brought out, pretty standard stuff, trying to open up the verticals, seeing what they can find from those verticals, and then advancing onto the bomb side.
It's pretty much all about that. We are trying to claw ourselves towards the position of the first defender. Maxine is there. He's behind the pillar. He's knocking down. He's also being caught off guard. Grenade coming in the perfect timing. Will be downed here. Ghost Relic finds fault though. Good eye by Ghost Relic. Yes. Is he able to also secure his teammate? No, he doesn't. As Kolben walks up the staircase and gets that kill for the Spanish Inquisition. So we will at least have found and a refrag here from the Spanish Inquisition. Also, the read is up there. Danster moving closer to the position that they just previously lost, with Max King dropping down from the pillar side. Could potentially be lethal if the Spanish Inquisition aren't aware of that position being rolled back. Skills Redick will be found by OnFalls. OnFalls yet still in the game of finding and also implementing these verticals.
Yeah. That smoke dying with three toxic babes in pocket is a massive blow to the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. You know, there's still a minute left here. We are, Spanish Inquisition has a man advantage here. They still have the thermite up. The breaches will be opened here. Now, Evan dying to cold Ben here. Those yokai drones now will be giving passive intel, but no longer for the plant denial. Now, triple kill from the side of cold Ben here. Denster does trade him out. Plant does go down. Denster does
double kill hit coming in with Denster. Denster finds the lead, but now has to face the difficulties of the verticals, as he now needs to roam back up, because both these attackers that are still in play for this round are above. One is close into that lower control room. The other one is coming in from storage. The blind is coming through. Denster has no visuals, and he only has 10 seconds to clear both kills, drop back down and go for the defuse. Time will tick down, and OnFalls will be the first to spot on Denster, and also will make it end for him in this round. So yet another round into the pockets of the Spanish Inquisition, yet another attacking round being won. So the trend that we have seen previously in both MEISTERSCHAFT and also in other series like ESA, the attacks are running it up on Nighthaven Labs.
Oh yeah, traditionally thought of as a very defense-sided map, at least here in the side of Europe. You know, 2 attacks in a row is not yet cause for alarm bells on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, but they will have to think about their strategies here. You know, they're bleeding players on that roam. They're bleeding the echo pick quite early. They're bleeding the smoke pick quite early, and that hampers their ability to go for these late round plant denial situations when they do not have that wall denial to help them keep the bomb site itself safe.
Yeah. On one hand, yes, of course, the Spanish Inquisition are down a map, but on the other hand, I still have to say the name as it is. Spanish Inquisition, they are definitely the underdogs in this matchup. They have nothing to lose because there's no one that has high awaits from them and say, hey, you must win this match. These are easy 3 points for you, or anything like that. They're the clear underdog, and it's all about give your best, try to win it out if possible. And if not, ayo, you tried your very best, you learn from it. That is experience that you can take with yourself into the next group stage following, but into the next group match following. But on the other hand, you can feel and you can see the way that they feel a lot less pressure on their shoulders. They have no problems like adapting their play style, giving it some different approaches, and that is something that maybe is unpleasant for MEISTERSCHAFT to play again and also face, as the reads, as they had it on border, are not that clear against the Spanish Inquisition here on Nighthaven Labs.
Yeah, going back to the top of now, the Mira and the Barao and Clash being brought out. Now going fast for Aqua Stairs. Denster does find one pick. Joe and Mike find one each. 4 versus 3 now. The Blitz hopping back outside, of course.
By any chance, did the players of MEISTERSCHAFT log out of their accounts and log onto the accounts of the Spanish Inquisition, or what is it? Because I have a complete deja vu from the attacking style we see on the Spanish Inquisition now, as that is the place that we saw on MEISTERSCHAFT on the first map.
Oh yeah, the Spanish Inquisition is bringing the pace at least this round. Hibana struggling to open up the wall due to the mute jammers there, but Evan finding a beautiful pick on the ball. Dirty.
There's no chance for OnFalls to see that deep angle coming in here, and he's definitely punished for it by Evan, as Evan, he just knows damn well what positions he can play and what kills he can pull from that mirror window.
The attack being pivoted to the connector side here completely. All players rotating over to electrical and connector. Flash also rotating there. I mean, it's in the corner. Things are getting hairy.
E-Box is being hot. We have the move in here. Martin finds Might. Joey finds the first Evan. Joey finds Maxteen. And now we have Ranker on a roam. Joey on triple kill. It is Joey against Ranker. Ranker on full HP does have a slight advantage when you're taking it upon the points of HP. He also does have the battle weapon. No, he does not, because both are on a DMR, but Ranker is just able to spot him out. As soon as he sees the ads, he's on it with his crosshair, and he finds that click in the right moment, and he switched it up for MEISTERSCHAFT as they killed the winning streak here, and the round streak from Spanish Inquisition closed down into a 2-1 after third round.
Seeing DMR and DMR violence there, this is a round that MEISTERSCHAFT pretty desperately needed. You know, a 3-0 for the side of the attack here. When you think that Night Heaven Labs is a very defensive-sided map, that could touch upon your mental here, with the Snake and the Mirror being banned. Okay, so we're seeing the clear want of the Spanish Inquisition to keep those walls open, to hamper the ability of MEISTERSCHAFT to mirror check with a 2-barrel, for example. And the MEISTERSCHAFT side banning out the Snake, keeping Spanish Inquisition's intel game off of their. We're seeing the Doku EV brought out here for the intel anyway. No Deimos on board, however.
No Deimos on board, even though he's not banned out. The last ban that came in here came towards the Snake. Meanwhile, also the Spanish Inquisition, they banned out the Azami. And I just want to mention it out. Banning Snake is yet indeed a good call, because we've seen privately that the Spanish Inquisition like to break that operator. On the other hand, I definitely have to name it out that Mira was such a crucial ban for the Spanish Inquisition, as she's causing so much mayhem in the build-ups by the Spanish Inquisition so far.
Yeah, that operator is just very strong on a map like Night Heaven Labs. Of course, being quite usable on every single map in the game. If we're being honest here, the Mirror is almost omnipresent, but especially on a map like this where the breaches are so important, where getting control of these rooms is so important, it can be a real nuisance for you to deal with. Ben is swapping over the Deimos, as I talked about, and Onfall swapping off of the Dokkaebi. Along with the Blitz from Might, we're going to see some hunting, I think, here.
Yeah, on the other hand, as we have seen now, they ban out the Snake and we're bringing on Deimos. Would you say that you see the Snake ban to be valid, or would you say said that you saw more Deimos ban to be committed?
I think it's just about the preference of the team itself. Both of these operators are, in my opinion, extremely strong. Both warrant a ban. It is just about what is the greater evil here. Do you want to deal with the Deimos tracks? Do you want to deal with the AK and the grenades, or do you want to deal with the F2 and the Snake gadget? It's Might falling down on the shield, then finding a pick on the Ranker. Onfall finding one in the Ghost Riddick. This is very quickly falling apart for MEISTERSCHAFT. Now in a 4v1 with the plant down, Mateen has all to do wants to save this round.
Martin fights back good though, finds a double kill. Now he can go for that defuse, but there's no vertical. The verticals are just being implemented. Down's fought, but also Onfalls. He is rushing down onto that tank, and as soon as he does so, the player is down. It is a 1v1 scenario, but the gap was closed by the last player, and he saved the day. In that case, and Onfall's definitely a round winner here with his triple kill coming in for the Spanish Inquisition. But yet, I want to point out, if you're having the same read as me, it feels like that MEISTERSCHAFT is a little bit oversleeping these engagements. Oh
yeah, they're losing man count very early into the round. Important operators as well, like the Azami, like the Smoke. I feel like they're not quite comfortable on this map overall. They're a bit lost on this, like, where do you get these opening engagement? How do you deal with these people trying to push into these positions? Or it could be a possibility of them just straight up losing the gunfights, which, does happen. It is a 50-50 after all. We shall see how they react to this now. We have the pulse being brought out, the site being... excuse me, is it top floor kitchen?
We are kitchen.
It is kitchen. Okay, so that pulse being a little bit weaker on the side of kitchen than on the top floor. Of course, the C4s from below are still an option. The info gathering is still ever present. But we also have to see how Evan utilizes this operator.
But in general, I just want to ask you, we have a 3-1 scoreline after 4 succeeded rounds. We have 2 more rounds coming in here. Do you say whatever happens now, Spanish Inquisition should be more than happy and pleased with the first half? Or do you say that MEISTERSCHAFT should definitely try to work more for these rounds so far?
I mean, the Spanish Inquisition should be more than happy with this. Getting the 3 rounds on this attack, getting a 3-3 half, which of course we still have a lot of rounds to play here on the side on the MEISTERSCHAFT's defense. But if they hypothetically were to go for a 3-3 half here, I think the attack would be very happy with that. This is a hard map to crack on the attack, and finding any rounds is very good.
And on the other hand, for MEISTERSCHAFT to be able to come back and make this a 3-3, there's also a lot of work ahead of them. What are the first key things that you, in your opinion, think that MEISTERSCHAFT needs to adapt upon and also change to be able to pull off a potential 3-3?
Well, we've already seen the thing that they need to adapt. With FOD going down on the grid, like that is the opening pick for MEISTERSCHAFT in a 5v4 situation, you know. They have the man count advantage now, and should they be able to trade down to a low man count execute, you know, play the time, play the trades, play the crosses, it would be a very advantageous for them.
Okay, and by that being said, we have 90 seconds remaining on the clock. Spanish Inquisition a little bit more time consuming so far on their build up here towards kitchen and cafeteria. Also, Evan finds the next one onto Cold Ben. Yes, indeed, a few verticals are being put in place, and Dancer is also roaming in, finds Joey. Alvo finds the first and Ghost Relic. Dancer with another kill, makes it a double to his name. Alvo's has to roam up as we have dropped a few up on top here. Alvo's finds and spots up Dancer. Makes it a double kill for himself. 8-1 scoreline. Alphonse is definitely a key player in this very first half of the Spanish Inquisition, but time is shrinking. He does have the diffuser covered, but still on the floor. He's going down without the diffuser. I don't know if that was intended or not, but now he has 48 seconds left for the clear. He knows for a second he needs to clear. There's no potential way that he will be able to come on site and go for a plan execute, as we have two guys on site. We have one player in the name of Maxine that drops and clears down that hallway as soon as we go for the swing. Maxine will get Onfos as Onfos tries to consider an engagement on the player on site through that softball. But Maxine will be there to swing it out behind this glass shield through the smoke and gets the kill done and sorted for MEISTERSCHAFT as they succeed with yet a lot better looking round now so far. I wanted to say if that second round is a deal breaker for MEISTERSCHAFT, because now it feels like they have gotten us a more simplistic read how the guys of Spanish Inquisition want to bring it down, also play like. Do you have the same feel? What is the big difference on that winning round of MEISTERSCHAFT towards the first one that they won?
Well, it was definitely the win conditions here played. You know, I spoke about the pulse here, finding the verticality here, and on a side like Kitchen, it is very important to have those verticalities, have those lines of sight open onto the bomb site itself. And Pulse does find a kill there. The roamer of the soul is going, I believe, undroned there, finding a flank onto connector and then Kitchen. You know, they are MEISTERSCHAFT is I feel like fully in the gear now. They have the momentum. They've kind of had the read onto how these people play on 19 Labs in specific from the Spanish Inquisition. Sometimes, you know, it takes a bit. You kind of have to feel out the opponent of what they're going to do and how they're going to play. And I feel like MEISTERSCHAFT now has the read on them.
Yet another thing that I want you to talk about, if you just look on the roster of MEISTERSCHAFT for this round, they bring 5 area denial operators. Why is that the case, and why is that maybe so interesting for this bomb site?
Well, as we have the bans in place, you know, the Mira, the double breach denial hard ban, those balls will get opened up. That is a given fact. You cannot stop it. So what MEISTERSCHAFT are trying to do is say like, hey, well, we know the walls are going to be opened up. You are not going to advance any further than that. We're going to hold the ground that we have, even with those walls opened up and with these sort of trap and area denial utility. They're wasting the time, basically.
And do we think that MEISTERSCHAFT will try and over-aggress, or in general bring some more aggression? Or are we thinking more of, okay, they're trying to draw down and dial down as much time as possible to then just be waiting passive on their spots to then go in for these executes?
I think their win condition should be the time denial. They tried going for those early engagements, you know, before in this game, and that lost them the rounds. They went for the aggression, and it lost them heavily on these rounds. So what this is screaming to me is like, okay, come get us. You know, come walk into us. We'll take the advantageous gunfight off of utility.
Now it's all about that one key position on the Azami. Azami could potentially swing might there, so might need to be aware that there's a guy on that rafters in storage.
Now the Bravo finding some utility off of the connector side. We have a bulletproof shield in play on the network itself, being protected by a lot of traps. Evan finding the run out on the mine.
Great hunt out there.
Yeah. Copy that bolt's going on to being here on the rafters, playing out the Azami. Peeking from the box. Unfalls does find the kill, but is immediately traded by Ghost Predict down to a 2v2 situation with the attacker quite low on health.
Yeah, now we know for a sake where that execute is coming from here by the Spanish Inquisition. It's all about Ghost Predict. Just needs to find one. It finds it first. The plant will be committed here by Joey. We come closer, and Ghost Predict finds him through the wall as Joey just has to cancel his diffuse take because Ghost Predict is just too close in the proximity. He could have just tried to deal it through, and that way it could have looked all other and all different for the Spanish Inquisition, because yet indeed there is a saying, pros never fake, but in that scenario, the fake was definitely the reason why it was lost. No, it wasn't. Ghost Predict knows for a fact where that plan is going down. He just pretty much fakes it on that he will push him, falls back into a deep and well position with that MP7, gets an angle onto the head of Joey, and just perfectly done. Yet again, you see the experience, you see for a sake that there is awareness where he needs to shoot through the softball to have an angle and find bullets on target on Joey. And we mentioned it 2 rounds ago was 3-1. And the Spanish Inquisition should be happy with whatever outcome happened. That was the worst outcome that could have happened after that staying. MEISTERSCHAFT fight it back with a 3-3, and it's on my end, it looks like a complete different team now in the 2 latest rounds, previous to the 4 rounds we have prior to that point. Why is that the case? What happened? What changed?
I mean, MEISTERSCHAFT just found that 1 round and kept the wheels rolling. They saw very solidly have the momentum now on their side, and once the team gets that, it can be quite hard to shut down. You know, sometimes in Pro League we see the coaches of the team calling timeout just to say, hey, we're breaking the momentum. We're giving a time, we're giving the players a little bit of time to just chill out, you know, try to gather their thoughts and break the momentum. No timeout being called here, although I do believe they have the right to do so. But we shall see how MEISTERSCHAFT pushes on this attack. A heavy focus on hard breach and intelligence gathering from their side.
Spanish Inquisition banning on both Monty and the Blitz definitely points into a certain direction, as now if we see these 4 bans being committed, there's no afraiding on these breaches, as the MEISTERSCHAFT can just pretty much say, you can bring a Cade, you can bring a Bandit, you can bring a Tuberao, we have no problems with that if you like to do so. But in general, it just feels like a complete different game. Well, what are the key things, in your opinion, that Spanish Inquisition need to be aware of now, as they're back in the defense, and we have seen prior on a map like Border that they are definitely not well on the side of defense so far?
Yeah, I mean, the focus has to be on the entry game here. You know, we have both Kite and Bandit and Tuberao on the board, and the Spanish Inquisition has elected to bring none of those out. As I say that, Ben does find the Predict there, Nomad utility going down with focus on towards Rafters.
Rush definitely onto Rafters. We are trying to clear out and also destroy all these Kiba barriers. So far, Kiba is being destroyed. On falls commits into Evan. Will be found by Dance in a direct trade though. And Ranker finds 1. Oh, he finds 2 on both Colban and Fod. Expected to get the advantage point here in that saying. 3 against 2 scenario, and it's against the Spanish Inquisition. They began so well, gained an opening engagement, and showed their presence on these spots and denied every entry so far. But then we had the push of Dance and Ranker, and they turned around right around here.
You know, at the end of the day, it is an FPS, and if the plan doesn't work, just shoot the enemy in the face. Dance finding a beautiful pick on the Might, aggressing from E-Box, and Martine finding the final on the Joe. That round was
and McTean had poor visual there through his own smoke there. A little bit unpleasant to swing around, especially when we see it in the kill cam here that the Dogby has a better visual through it. But on the other hand here as well, also the aggression that came in from the Thorn. Thorn is spotted out by her own shadow. That way the shadow leads, like giving him the final outcall. There is a Thorn coming close in your proximity. You just need to swing her because you know for a fact where she will be located at, and that is just a little bit too easy to try and deal against MEISTERSCHAFT, as MEISTERSCHAFT just have it in their guts to pull it off and just pretty much win out these guns if you give them the key leading intel.
Yep. Ranker finding the double kill there was the pivotal moment of the round. You know, Ghost Predict falling very early on that Nomad would theoretically give the Spanish Inquisition the round. the lead advantage there, you know, of 5v4. But you know, when you lose that advantage, sometimes you just have to make a play, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And this time it very much.
Okay, we have seen the first round coming in here by MEISTERSCHAFT. We have seen the play style that they want to bring. Yet again, it felt like it was a lot of pressure and a lot of high pace that they wanted to bring. Switching position, tried to answer upon it, and also had a few good leads. But what are the things that they need to change? What are like the main things that didn't work enough for the switching position to pull off their very first defending round?
I mean, we've talked about the opening pick here in a while, and converting that is a very important thing. But the thing I like seeing here now is the kite being brought out. You know, you have the wall denial, might as well use it, might as well slow down the attack. MEISTERSCHAFT doesn't have the Thatcher, doesn't have the impact EMPs. They will have the ramp for verticality, so that kite claw will get found out at least on the assembly main breach at some point. But there's a very good chance that, for example, the warehouse hatch would just stay closed. They do not have the EMP, they do not have the utility to find it.
On the other hand, if we just look at the score lines a little bit, Danster, top frag on the end of MEISTERSCHAFT, but very close in proximity. Ranker, Ghost Rig on 6, Maxstein on 5, and then Evan on 3 is the latest player. Meanwhile, on the other hand, you have Unfalls on 10 and 4. Meanwhile, all the others are lurking around on 4 kills and being more or less negative. Is that a key factor that they pretty much rely a little bit too much on Unfalls?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like that is that is a game of individual performances, and if Unfalls should fall down early or be picked off, it would spell disaster for the status of the Spanish exhibition, or those players would have to massively pick up their game. Unfalls, however, being tracked by the Deimos here, falling back down to site.
3-3 scenario, so both odds are even though Maxstein and also Ranker have been dealt a little bit HP. And not HP, but they've been dealt a little bit damage to drop down on their HP. And there we have it. And also fought in the engagement against Maxstein. Will both fight. Suited for it, and especially another thing MEISTERSCHAFT needs to get themselves some angles to not only try and defend their planned carrier, but also going in for that late execute.
Yeah. The verticals for assembly not being played right now, so Unfalls has the free pick to just stand there and wait and possibly
catch.
Insane catch. This does find the pick on the quad. Might just get benefit back with a 1 versus 2, and Unfalls does find the right pick. Might with a nice double K there on the flank.
Yeah, Might with an insanely well flank coming in here, only from the point that they have made it possible to shrink down numbers against MEISTERSCHAFT. MEISTERSCHAFT had to play it very simple, drop down. We had one player that watches the angle, catches the C4 off guard, but yet as soon as he catches the C4, the Ela is just lurking in, swinging the plant carrier and gets him dealt off the board. So not the ideal plant position that and that eye, because you're playing a 1 against 2 scenario, and for sure also when the C4 gets in that conversation, you have at least 2 problems, too much to talk and also have your eyes on, and that way it is an easier take here from the Spanish position to lock down and also down that player on the planter. That way easier to draw it down on. Also, the gap is just too wide and there are too many angles to be taken care of by the Deimos, as Deimos also is being taken apart and also teared down from multi-angles. So, good enclosing game here by the Spanish position as they find the reads on the strategy from MEISTERSCHAFT, and they were very, I don't want to say lucky, but they definitely had the right way to play it down. As soon as they saw that they had an advantage point, they peeled down the layers of the onion, took away time from the clock, and just made it as hard as possible for MEISTERSCHAFT to be prepped for the final execution.
Yeah, you know, it is you know, simple mathematics here. Like, if you have 3 people preparing for that tank side execute, you know, it's just basic reason that you cannot have somebody also playing those verticals.
Exactly.
You count the people, and then you count like, hey, I can play this position now. They cannot deny me from this, and I will have an advantage.
But now, we are in round number 9, and it's more or less about the sake where you find yourself with the answers. Also, this is the last round before we will have round number 10, and round number 10 finally to that we will have the last round of bans. So just taking it a little bit ahead of that, what are the last 2 bans that you are seeing coming into this match in round number 10?
I mean, I do think Spanish Christians will follow with the 3rd shield ban here. You know, Ghost Riddick now on the Blackbeard. They clearly do not want to deal with those shields, which is, you know, understandable. They've already banned out the Monty and the Blitz, and should the Blackbeard be a challenge for them in this round, that will get taken out from them. I'm sure of that. Other options could be the Ying here, or the Snake, or Deimos. I think these are all valid bans. And then for the side of the defense, I think if they want to continue with these sort of Ying strategies, the Warden could be a good ban, or the Asami.
In general, there are so many operators that we can ban out here, especially the operators that we're seeing here by OnFalls. But the versatility of OnFalls, how many different operators he have been playing, he will definitely be unpleasant for the duration of the match. But in general also, it pretty much seems like the Spanish Inquisition are not only suited for these interactions coming in here by MEISTERSCHAFT, but they seem to have the reads on where these entries are coming from, and they're punishing every single entry whatsoever coming in so far. And that is definitely one of the key impacting factors why they crawl it back to a 4-on-4 and now have the upper hand in this round number 9, don't you think?
Oh yes, definitely. We've seen the Shield of Ghost Riddick go down here, as well as the Snake of Denster. Ying having very little utility, and also the utility on Routine and Ranker with the Zofia and Ace going, you know, although it isn't looking that good for MEISTERSCHAFT here. C4 does miss, and Joe does go into low health, but I do not think that this attack has much power behind it anymore. 30 seconds left on the round.
30 seconds left. We have to commit into the plan. We have to drop down. We have to go for an execute. And you also see there's still a C4 coming in, but Colban doesn't need a C4. He has an ST11. Finds Evan. Mectin is on the spot, but he doesn't have the diffuser. He also drops in a lot of HP damage here on Joey. Goes close in proximity. Could now be spotted out by Fod. Fod is close in the proximity. Goes for the swing. Has a good read. Capped calm, capped his calm, and goes for the swing in the right moment. Also happens here with the same engagement. Drops in, sneaks his way into a calm, and waits for the engagement coming in, and then Thought is directly on the head of his last opponent, and he drops it in, and yet crawls back the lead to the Spanish Inquisition, leading now 5-4 before the first. No, not the first, the last ban, and also privately to round number 10. As we see the last bans coming in here, you had your reads. You say, okay, we're dealing with the Blackbeard, and we're dealing with an operator that is on the roam game so far, especially maybe operators that has been played by OnFalls. That will be the case as we dropping out the Asami out of this Inquisition. That definitely is something that I thought would happen, because we see the operators that we're banning currently are taking these big areas. They're contesting the areas where Master are intending to play opening engagements, and these bans just prevent them from doing so. The same happens on the Snake. Snake, the same ban that we saw partly on the other half. For me, these bans rule them out themselves. I pretty much think, though, that you have a diff opinion, or better said, some more opinion about these 2 bans.
I mean, I think these bans are valid. They haven't, the set of MEISTERSCHAFT hasn't really shown the Blackbeard yet. They've only played, I do believe, in the last round and now after these bans. So maybe the Spanish didn't really think that would necessarily ban that out. Maybe they have some strategies for the Blackbeard. Maybe they think that Ghost Riddick or Evan isn't that good on this particular map on that Blackbeard. So they take out the Snake for the intel denial, which is, you know, very reasonable. That operator is extremely powerful for gathering the intel and where these roamers are staying. And then the Asami, of course, you know, that weakens the Raptors hold, that weakens the cargo hold. It is just a universal ban. It is good everywhere, as I said on Border. I'm not really, these bans are not what I predicted, but I am not surprised.
It is not completely what you predicted, but this match is definitely a little bit less predictable than the first one that we saw, so that shall be all good and in the quota that we are currently finding ourselves in. Especially if we look a little bit into the scoreboards, Evan that played such a tremendous role on his shields on the very first map. A little bit out of his pocket plays here, as the shields are banned out. Evan also not known for his big Blackbeard plays. He is more of a Monty and especially Blitz player. Is that something that definitely is felt in this match so far? As we just see, and is down with 3 and 8. Was currently one of the leading players, especially here yet again. He bleeds it out as an opening engagement. What is the big difference on Evan so far on this second map?
I mean, as you said, it is just the shield player. You take the legs out of the shield, legs from under the shield player, and it is you can see it. He is not in his comfort zone, however much experience he may have. But if you prefer those operators, you want to play them, and you cannot. You're Coldben just on fire this game. That Scorpion pick onto the glass, disgusting.
That is disgusting, and how on earth is that allowed? You have the operator that is intended to be the most ugliest to swing on deep angles, especially because he has a thermal sight. There's a weapon that is 2-click whatsoever he hits on your body. On the other hand, you swing him with full ego because you know for 100% that he will be in that spot, and you knock him off his feet. Perfectly done by Coldben, as Ben is definitely clutching up. He doesn't give Unfalls the single hero role whatsoever. He is up there to take these fights by himself and say, I will fall down and I will bring this match home if I deeply must give my entire life for it.
Oh yeah, they're definitely feeling themselves. The confidence must be surging on the side of the Spanish Inquisition. They found Unfalls finding another one on the anchor with only the single player Ghost Predict going also down to Unfalls. You know, they swing, they hit, they feel good about it.
Yep. And when they hit real good right now. Yeah. And we are not currently finding ourselves in a position, Spanish Inquisition, they are, I can't find words for it. They're pretty much not only fighting back, but they're giving it their all. That is what we wanted to see from them on the very first map, where they overslap multiple engagements. They overslap finding adaptations in the right moment and in the right way. Now the same happened on MEISTERSCHAFT. MEISTERSCHAFT then in the end of the first half found some leads and picked up some momentum. That momentum is, in my opinion, a little bit gone now, but yet now, round number 11, match point scenario for the Spanish Inquisition. What are the biggest things MEISTERSCHAFT needs to adapt upon and change in their playstyle to be able to find reads and also knock down these match point rounds, as they need to deny two of those to fight it and call it into an overtime?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I like from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT is they're bringing that Maverick along. You know, for the last basement defense, we saw that assembly wall not being opened at all. That is another pressure point that is completely missing from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. Now that Maverick will be able to open that wall up, they will be able to restrict the movement of the defense on site and giving these favorable engagement to the attack then. We will have to see where the execute will go in the end, but it's kind of seeming like a heavy roam from the side of the Spanish Inquisition.
That Black Eye is definitely unpleasant for the players of MEISTERSCHAFT. That is a Black Eye that you can't really find a read on and also have destroyed. But now we go for the breaches, and another key thing that I want to highlight that we definitely need to look into is Evan is on a shield. He is on Blackbeard, also, even though it's a shield that he isn't known for. While we wait for a hole that is big enough for the C4 to slip through, but Dancer's not giving it to them. Evan still yet again falls. C4 comes through, doesn't find one Dancer though, with 1 HP. That's the point that he drops and fought. He just completely swings him, gets a call here by the poles, and that is perfect team play yet again. The team play that we had, and I pretty much loved so much by MEISTERSCHAFT on the first map, is definitely in the hands of the Spanish Inquisition here on the second one, as they just every single time bring in great team play in the right moments, and it's pretty much giving MEISTERSCHAFT the biggest headache possible.
Yeah. None of these entry kills are being traded back. You know, Evan dies on the entry, Coleman finding another one onto Ranker. Not traded back. That is three kills from the side of the Spanish Inquisition that are not traded. They are losing men for free.
Yeah,
Coleman does take a little bit of help.
It's pretty much just that they only roam through the entirety of the map and are completely unpunished for it.
Yep. And that's where I think the snake ban is a very calculated decision. Because you could clear that map with the snake, or you could stand outside of, let's say, E-Box and fight. Hey, there are people inside of IT, there are people inside of servers. And now that option is completely gone for them, and they have no handle on their own whatsoever.
Yeah, and it pretty much just feels like that the guys of MEISTERSCHAFT, they have lost their leads on the map. They've lost their hope on this map, because Red can potentially pull it off with 40 seconds left on the clock, but it is all about if the Spanish Inquisition give him these engagements, and I hope deeply that they don't, because this should be a safe one for them. As you see, they're not ego peaking, but in general, as soon as the Spanish Inquisition had a read on one position of the players, it was directly ego peaked. It was directly put pressure on. They just tried to make it as unpleasant as possible for anything by MEISTERSCHAFT. It doesn't matter if it's an opening, if it's an entry point on the map, if it is just simply moving throughout the map. It just tried to make it as unpleasant as possible, but Ghostrydick finds a second, finds a third on Ben and all forces. They battle it out which one will get the MVP spot from this map, but it doesn't go either way, because the only way it goes is into map number 3. We have the Spanish Inquisition crawl back into a potential decider. Not a potential, because we will go to the decider, and the last words I will give them to you, Levy, because what did we see? Give it us.
What we saw there is definitely an upset. We somewhat expected MEISTERSCHAFT to be on top of this game here, with them being the far more experienced team, but what we just saw on Nighthaven, especially from the attack side of the Spanish Inquisition, was a whooping. That was not the standard way you would see Nighthaven play out in competitive play.
Yeah, and another one that has some opinion about this match, because he saw it from his more than good, well-seated position in the backstage, is Erebos. Erebos, how did you witness this second map?
The Inquisition is coming for MEISTERSCHAFT. The guns have warmed up. They have played into this series, and we have a 3-gamer on the play day 1 of this group stage, and what a map that was. It looked like it was going to be a runaway for the Spanish Inquisition. They were up 3-1, then MEISTERSCHAFT fought back into it to tie up the half, and from my perspective, I thought it was going to be another attacking-sided map, but it was so even, and in the end, the Spanish Inquisition pulled it off because of unfalls, because of Cold Ben. They were just lights out, and closing it down in that second half was absolutely fantastic. And I'd have to say, the players heard me when I said that the map 1 was about those shields. The Spanish Inquisition, they banned away the Blitz, they banned away the Monty, and you could see that MEISTERSCHAFT, they just looked so much more uncomfortable without being able to rely on those shields. And then for the side of Spanish Inquisition, they didn't even need to ban out the Blackbeard, because they dealt with it every time it was brought. The first time that we saw it brought on, Eriker, you mentioned it, that they hadn't brought it really pretty much at all, except for those 2 rounds towards the end. And the Blackbeard got dealt with extremely easily. It felt like the Spanish Inquisition had every single answer to deal with the side of MEISTERSCHAFT on their attack, because MEISTERSCHAFT, they look so much more comfortable when they're on the attack, and the Spanish Inquisition bounced back really, really well after that border. And now we're going to be going to that decider, what looked like was not going to be going to after that first map of border, and it's going to be Lair, another map that is very, very similar, at least in terms of the strategic side, as Nighthaven Labs. It's a map that is not necessarily as open as Border. It is a map where you have to be a little bit more calm and collected, strategic-minded, just like Nighthaven Labs. Mighty, what are you thinking? What are we going to see on this third map? Because map 2 definitely throws a ringer into this series.
Yeah, we definitely have a game now. The very first map looked that it was a complete steal by MEISTERSCHAFT, and Spanish Inquisition, they didn't seem to be up to the challenge. Now they have fought it back on the second map, and I am pretty much enlightened to see that happening, because it gives us a complete different standing and also a different view on the cider map of Lair. As in Special, it seems like the Spanish Inquisition found a deep world read at least on one of the players and also the playstyle of MEISTERSCHAFT banning out these shields. I'm very sure about the fact that we will see both the Monty and also Blitzban coming in on lair to break down the same thing that they broke down on Night Haven Labs for the players of MEISTERSCHAFT. On the other hand, I'm a little bit concerned on the plays that we saw from MEISTERSCHAFT because the force they brought, the pace and force that they brought on the first map of Border, like to try to implement themselves in every single round directly from scratch, was punished out by the guys of the Spanish Inquisition on map number 2. So if that is like the big deal breaker for MEISTERSCHAFT, if they lose rounds when they're not able to build up that pressure directly from scratch in every single round, it will be a hard one for them to commit it in to Lair, because Lair yet again has so many opening points, has so many different paths that you can follow down and walk down towards the bomb site. And Spanish Inquisition, they had the same reads on it on Night Haven Labs, where the same base of style of play is intact, like we will have it on Lair now, and they punished every entry path. They punished every single opening engagement fought in from MEISTERSCHAFT. So I'm concerned about MEISTERSCHAFT on this map because it feels like it should be in the books and in the hands of the Spanish Inquisition, just because the showcase that we saw on Night Haven Labs right now. But on the other hand, we will never lose hope because it's always time to crawl back in. We have potential 50 more rounds of Siege coming in here, and MEISTERSCHAFT have enough time to find a clue, find a solution, and adapt their own playstyle to be a little bit more suitable on the playstyle in the Spanish Inquisition. But I can indeed tell, with all the facets that we saw on Night Haven Labs, with all the verticality that came in, with also a lot of trying to steal away time from the clock and make it as hard as possible to gain entries into the building, this can be a very unpleasant run for both teams in the attack.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Now, real quick, Erker, who are you looking towards for Spanish Inquisition to continue their momentum? And on the other side for MEISTERSCHAFT, which player is going to be that difference maker if they want to take this series in map number 3?
Well, you know, on map number 2, the Spanish Inquisition identified Evan as the problem. They banned out both of his preferred shields, and that really, really hurt the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. They were able to shut down the entry quite hard, and you know, I just think Evan needs to have a little bit more of an impact on the game. His stat line wasn't all that good. He got a lot of opening deaths and didn't really have an impact on how the rounds played out. So I'm looking towards Evan there, and then on the side of the Spanish Inquisition, you know, it's got to be Ben and Balls that really showed up in map number 2. And if they can continue that performance on the Night Haven Labs, you know, who knows? The game could go either way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're going to head to a very short break, and we'll be back with Lair in just a sec.
Und du merkst, die fühlen sich hier auf dieser Map mehr als pudelwohl.
Definitiv, und das zeigen sie auch mit der Scoreline, ne? Nicht nur zeigt dies. Oh, schaust dir, er rennt natürlich raus, versucht hier greedig zu sein, aber Vorsicht! Holt sich zwar noch den Kill, D7, gerade keine Chance hier zu reagieren. Achtung! Die Teammates, die warten schon und die kommen schon in Red. Gruppe A, wie schon öfters gesagt, ist die Todesgruppe hier. Close Range mit dem Blitz. Oh je, come on. Noch mal ein bisschen rumschubsen. Dindo kann da in diesem Fall nicht mehr vieles machen. Lass den Jungen einfach gemütlich in den Feierabend gehen, Jungs. Dankeschön. Und somit hat Team Alpha das 7:2 sich ergattern können.
Wir Demons beim nächsten Mal raus. 1 gegen 5 Zone alleine. Gegen ein komplettes Team. Eine Aufgabe, die sicherlich hier nicht mehr zu bewältigen ist für ihn. Vor allem jetzt nochmal ausgedroht. Nino with the Zone. A flawless Round für Risen. Und dementsprechend geht's hier weiter. 1:1.
Wunderschönes C4 könnte vielleicht ein bisschen wehtun, aber gerade noch so nicht geschafft. Aber dafür gesorgt, dass die Ram sehr viel Schaden genommen hat. Schon interessant, 40 Sekunden noch auf Turbo. Wir starten es jetzt, das vertikale Spiel. Der ist noch ein Maestro, mit dem wir dealen müssen. Kein C4, kein Nichts. Wir haben noch die F-Nets und somit ist der Maestro weg und die Triple Kill noch dazu. Koji holt sich noch einen weiteren Spieler und es bleibt knapp und spannend bis in den letzten paar Sekündchen rein. Das Fan-Gadget wird nochmal zeigen, wo sich die Spieler hier befinden und wo einer ist. Wo ist der Zweite? Die Schüsse geben es her und jetzt weiß man ganz genau von der Seite vom Team Alpha, wo die Spieler sind. Die Frage für Troy ist, wo...
And Erebos mentioned it. Just a real quick break before we head back into the last map, as we will see ourselves on Lair. We talked a little bit about Lair, Levy, but yet again, we have a few more opinions on the map like Lair. There is a map that is among the newest maps in the pool. It's not that new anymore, to be fair and square, but like in general, there is still a room to find new ways of dealing with the map, dealing with the text, and also dealing with defense lines ups. And in general, I just want you to have a take. What is so special about Lair, and why is Lair a map that is so fun to play?
Well, first of all, Lair's a big map. It goes into these breaches heavily like the likes of Clubhouse or Night Haven, but it also flows quite well. There's a lot of things you can do with the map, and also the fact that it is, as you mentioned, that new, quote-unquote, new. There's a lot of stuff on the map that hasn't been figured out yet, as funny as that may sound, and there's a lot of room for experimenting, and I think that makes the map great.
Yeah, and what's also great is that we will have a new set of bans. And another great news, at least for Evan, is that he has at least 2 rounds where he can play, 3 rounds where he can play shields.
Yeah. Evan's starting on the defense though, so he cannot play those shields actually, I do believe.
I hope you would notice.
I did. But speaking of shields, the Clash does get banned out here. With the double information gathering ban, the Dokkaebi and the Snake going out from the Spanish Inquisition, with, as I said, the Clash and the Mira out from MEISTERSCHAFT. So full breach denial still open for the side of the defense.
Yeah, we're finding ourselves on the side, as we've said like 15,000 times now. But in general, we've talked about Lair, we've talked about why this map has the versatility it has, and why it is such an interesting map in comparison to other maps, because it is so fairly new. But as we look into the starting sides, as we mentioned, the MEISTERSCHAFT, they will begin in the defense, meanwhile the Spanish Inquisition can bring the heat in the attack at first. Do you want to have a comment on which side is the strongest here and which side is potentially the side where teams are being said to? You need to look into your perspective of winning out rounds in that half.
Yeah. I mean, Lair typically is a very defense-sided map. I do believe the defense win rate is about 50% in a comp here. That is, of course, statistics from Tier 1 play, but it somehow does still translate to Tier 2 play as we're here. So, you know, a 4-2 half for MEISTERSCHAFT is somewhat expected. Could even be a 5-1 half, depending on how well they actually do defend this. Going for a 3-3 would actually benefit the side of the attack of Spanish Inquisition here, and I do not think MEISTERSCHAFT wants that.
Yeah, I really don't think that MEISTERSCHAFT wants that, but it is not about the things that they want, it is about the things that they are able to pull off and also play in for themselves. As we see, the first engagements will come here by the Spanish Inquisition. We are trying to not only push back, but also suppress the positioning of Ghost Reddick, and we have already succeeded in pushing him all the way back on side, and by that being said, the first shield position, deep on the entry path, is gone and dusted.
Yep. That Mountain being able to walk on that mezzanine shield for free shows the strength of those shields entering. That basically gives the side of operational to the Spanish Inquisition for very little effort overall. As we see the Deimos work his way downstairs now, I'm looking over to what the attacks will be here. You know, rooting the Wamai out, rooting Ghost Reddick out of sight would be very important here for the attack, and we shall see how they will be doing.
Yeah, and it is definitely among the point where we have to go for the verticals. Also, you see there's at least one player that is committed for playing that vertical. It's Maxton, and also Evan will find the first into cold ban. Dancer finds unfolds on the linear basis. We need to be aware because there's a pressure below. The pressure is hot, the pressure is high on Might. And also Joey is cranked up here by Ranker, and Evan finds the read on Might. That way we also have Maxton down below for potential vertical play. He's roaming back up onto the staircase. His father's also spawned out on that Andrew Trevor mezzanine. Finds a first and goes Redick. Has 4 players left, and you see the Toxic is close. He cuts the visual. Toxic Babe is coming out. He's waiting for that engagement. We see these 2 duos. You have 2 on the left, you have 2 on the right. Doesn't matter who you push because there will be a second player taking you down. But in this case, we didn't need a player because we had the Toxic Babes, and that should be enough for that take.
Yeah, this is more what we are accustomed to seeing from Lair. You know, very defense-sided map, especially on that top floor. That is a hard nut to crack for the attack, and MEISTERSCHAFT can take that quite comfortably, I think.
Yeah. We saw the struggles that MEISTERSCHAFT had on the previous map in defense, but here you see there a direct change of play in the defense. What is the biggest change in this very first defending round that we saw right now by MEISTERSCHAFT in comparison to the first opening rounds on the defense side on the second map that we just saw privately on Night Heaven Labs?
Well, first of all, they did get the entry kill on the first full roam there. I do believe it was Maxine who got the kill. And they played a little bit more reserved there, you know. The game plan being that they realized that, hey, we can hide behind all of this utility on site. They may not have the tools that they need to actually break down this hole, actually get these positions cleared. And you know, we can just smoke off. We can just sit there, play the crosses, and wait for them to come to us and run out the clock, which they did very successfully. And once they had the man count advantage, then they pushed it and they got the round.
Yeah, and that is how they sorted it out. And another thing that they need to sort out is the second round, as the Spanish Inquisition now will try and find a way back and way to make it an even scoreline straight from the boards. But it will definitely not be an easy one, as it seemed to have a MEISTERSCHAFT back on the favorite position where they were on the first map. But indeed, we bring the first shield of this round into the attack, and it is Might on the Blitz. Drone is coming out as well. Verticality is also being gained access to, but is not being played active by the attackers. Meanwhile, it is all about seeing if we have a read on the player of Evan. No, we don't have a read, as Evan has it the first, finds the second. Good team play coming in here by also Danster.
Yeah. That rat spot not being blown out is the nail in the back of the Spanish Inquisition. Losing the Blitz and losing the Demos early is quite devastating for the attack.
Yep. Early strike means early coffin for 2 of the players of the Spanish Inquisition. So now we're calling it back, we're calling it in, and we're finding an equalization frag on falls. But Evan yet again is back there to save the day, finds himself the triple kill. SMG-11 is just damn weapon in that close proximity. Joey can only give a few HPs in damage towards Evan. Evan, as soon as he does so, he is suppressed down into position. Doesn't hit the shotgun bullets though. That way we give Fault the audacity position to crawl it in and find yet 2 kills. That way with Ranker all along.
Yep.
On
now the question is,
side.
Can FOD find the Ranker from the verticalities, or will they have to push him? You know, it is still winnable for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. Ranker does shoot out a drone. He still has the utility to play around on the bomb side. Now the question is, will the Spanish Inquisition give him the 1v1s that he so desperately wants here? Plans starting to go down from Joe. Ranker running around, going to kill inside of hard drives. The nade being popped up there, canister being popped up. FOD going very low. Now Joe returning back up top floor, and it is not looking good. That Goyo utility being still in place, and the retake being necessary for Ranker to actually get this defuse.
Yeah, it's all about if they have a read upon that will be a linear fight, and it seems so as we were aiming off the staircase. Yes, indeed, we had the staircase aimed off. On the other hand, we had a good sound calling in here by the Spanish Inquisition. That way they're able to deal it out. Well fought back here by the Spanish Inquisition, even though the round looked like it will go in the hands of MEISTERSCHAFT again. Yet then I had the feeling that as soon as we found a few good engagements here by MEISTERSCHAFT, they began to overpeak. They began to be a little bit over aggressive, and that cost them the entirety of the round. Because of course, They had an opening kill coming in here and a double. They found a triple very fast on Evan. That's the player that we definitely said needs to pick up his game on the second map. Now he is definitely doing so on the third, but it isn't a deal breaker. The team of the MEISTERSCHAFT needs to stop thinking about multi-kills as a deal breaker for the round, because the Spanish Inquisition have showed more than once that they are able to crawl back, and that is the key factor from them in this matchup. That MEISTERSCHAFT just doesn't. They need to stop overestimating their own power and underestimating their opponents, because in rounds like these that we just saw quietly, the Spanish Inquisition will punish you for egoing.
Yeah, like if you give those fights to the side of the Spanish Inquisition, they will take them. You know, it can be. Those fights can go either way. You know, in a situation like that, you find the 3K, you just back out. You back out. There's no need to go peeking that way. You can just play the crosses on site, and that would be almost assuredly a round win for MEISTERSCHAFT there. But they go for the ego play, and they get heavily punished for it.
Yeah. But in comparison, also, I want to mention it once more. We're talking about experience so much for MEISTERSCHAFT. They have experience in T1, T2 esports, but in general, also, it's a roster that has so much experience in general of Siege. But I want also to break to you that the Spanish Inquisition have players that not only have experience from PC competition, but they also have a lot of experience from console, something that they need to take seriously, because they know for that aspect well where these deep lines are, where these crosses are, and we see it here. The aggression is coming in. This time it's MEISTERSCHAFT. They're shrinking it down, but Colban, yet he brings some heat. Ghost and Ranker will find their ground towards him. Have to kneel down. Fod also in that equation needs to be in a position where he can pick it up as Evan tries to slip through, but also he will be found and down by Colban. Dancer are able to pick it up, pull him down, and then now it's Fod. Fod alone. Evan is potentially restable, but it's just too close proximity. Fod can immediately push that out if that shall be the case. No damage coming in. Fod very low on HP. No more contact grenades coming in here. Saw on Cole trying to fake it out, fake the rest. The rest is not being committed. Fod is too far away. Now we have a 2-against-1 scenario. The situation is not going in the hands of the Spanish Inquisition. We're falling back on sides. Good read here by Fod. Trying to catch these verticals directly. Caught the line. So now prevailing. Evan on coming back on site. 50 seconds remaining. Diffuser dropped. 2-against-1 scenario. It will definitely not be an easy one for the Spanish Inquisition.
No, and I like the play from MEISTERSCHAFT here. They've gotten the revive back. They're in a 2v1 situation. Bodies are very low. They've fallen back towards the bomb site, and Evan does find the kill there through the wall. But that is what I'm talking about. They kind of pushed the envelope there on the top floor roam. They went for the aggression, and once they got the revive back, they just went back down the side. Play it safe.
Yep. And that is the switch play that I deeply hope for that we will see by MEISTERSCHAFT. In general, both teams have had plays and have had the momentum on their side, and they tend to be over aggressive or maybe going in for these ego peaks. And that is something that in not all equations, but in many of these equations got punished by their opponents. So I have the hopes for teams on both ends, that they go away from that play style when they have momentum, that they tend to cross into overaggressing peaks or like overaggressing certain scenarios, or in general just go for ego peaking, and then rather say, okay, let's try and fake it out or gain some more time on our clock and steal away time from the opponent, and just try to crawl back. We had a few layers of defense, and we just peel them off like the layers of the onion. Time is ticking down. We're falling deeper and deeper back. We're seeing if we can find an engagement, find a kill or two here. But then we've played safe, fall back, because the attackers have to get towards the bomb site. They have to get towards us and not the other way around. And that is the play that we saw here from MEISTERSCHAFT, and it pretty much dealt the costs. As soon as we got the rest back onto Evan, they both fell back. One had the deep angle on side, the other one had an outside angle on the hatch on the potential drop where I fought, and it worked out perfectly well. That is the place that I definitely hope that we see more. That we see that calmness coming in and the experience kicking over, not only the mechanical skill every whatsoever.
Yeah. New round of bans coming in, the Azami being taken out along with the Deimos. The bans for the attack following a certain game plan. I see here, you know, triple information denial ban and the vigil and soul is being brought along. You know, they really do not want these positions to be found out. They really do not want the room to be found out here. Shutting down droning, shutting down the intel game is a very powerful strat here, with the one caveat of the human drone Monty being brought along. And as we see here, immediately the entry fights are being contested by both Evan and Denster here. They want to get aggressive early, and they're trying to find these picks and stop the game plan of the Spanish Inquisition from manifesting in the first place.
Yeah, first minute gone and dusted here in the 4th round. Thought also even a lot of HP. Thought is also the first one that will fall in the hands of the MEISTERSCHAFT roster as Max Dean find him. Close proximity with the German shotgun.
And I think that is very much down to the fact that the Spanish Inquisition just does not have the intel to figure out where these positions are being played, what operators are being played, are they being swung on. They just don't know enough to deal with this hold. We burned.
Yep. Continue.
We burned half of the clock already, and we do not really have a hold on any of these players. We're down man count now. Outpost finding Denster, although, and this battle is being manifested. You know, it is not looking good for the Spanish unless they get picks or space here. Ooh, that is a siege timing moment if I've ever seen one. A melee kill from XT on Cold Ben and a on the mind was.
Yeah, turning your back on your opponent directly in the moment where he is pushing you is definitely some siege timing coming in here. MEISTERSCHAFT have a good read and shrink down the odds of the Spanish Inquisition, also going for that vertical. So not the verticality with the Monty that was trying to put down the planter was directly forced out and also punished by Evan. You see the head here of Ghost Redick. Ghost Redick crawls back into safety in a safe position. Now it's potential flank coming in here by the players of MEISTERSCHAFT. No, we're punishing Ghost Redick for that engagement. Joey finds himself in a position. We'll also try to beat the next player because he knows for a fact that there's one player at least too close in proximity. Evan is on the swing onto the counter, and he will definitely indeed find a long angle onto Joey and punish him for it. That way we are crawling into a 3-1 lead here by MEISTERSCHAFT as they send to find a cool yet again. And I have the feeling the Spanish Inquisition had a lot of scenarios where they compete in and also commit into the gunfights and then slip away out of the hands of their opponent that we had on the second map, that they just tend to steal away a kill and just fall back and act like nothing happened. The same thing counts in here now. MEISTERSCHAFT waits, lurks in a certain position, get a walk in or a walk by the Spanish Inquisition. They steal that kill, and immediately the player of MEISTERSCHAFT dips that position, falls back, is out of that scenario before the next player of the Spanish Inquisition is able to move up and try to go or intend play for a refrag. And I think these gaps now that we had on MEISTERSCHAFT and on the map of Night Heaven Labs have now lurked their way into the lineups of the Spanish Inquisition. Is that maybe a big problem coming in towards the next rounds?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's hard enough to attack a layer as it is, but if you're not getting those trades, if you're off tempo with your teammates, if you're missing these roamers going for these plays and not punishing the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, you know, that's a really hard situation to come back from. You're basically playing in a 4v5 right off the bat. You're not getting the kills that you need. As we saw in the last round, it went down to a low man count situation, yes, but it is still there were so many opportunities for the Spanish Inquisition to trade off these kills. You know, you find a pick and then you shoot the guy who got the pick. That just isn't quite happening in this game right now.
Yeah, I am totally on your end of that page. Currently, we're looking for the first opening engagements as we still have outside cams and outside reads on FOD. FOD is the player where I at least expect to be outdrawn by outside cams. Might in deep troubles here as he tried to roam up these yellow stairs. Has on falls straight behind his back to try and back him up, but yet they dip that position. A lot of HP lost, and now they are focusing themselves onto towards the bombs as they maybe have a read on that there's only one player in the name of Ranked on the sides.
Yeah. Ranked, however, playing the Goyo there, these canisters will give the side of MEISTERSCHAFT time to return back to the bomb site should they need to. Does find Mateen on the Thorn there on the roam. And we'll see Joe finding Ghost Riddick as well. Canisters being popped off, so the side of the Spanish Inquisition cannot advance on the side itself. Bot be falling down, same with unfalls to the roam. Evan and Denster both finding one very low health situation on the side of the Spanish Inquisition, with especially the Monty being on low health with the defuse kit. That plant might be difficult to get down.
Joey finds Evan though. Still the advantage caught and gathered by the Spanish Inquisition. Joey and Might are both very low on HP. Colban is there to save his teammate in the name of Might from the vertical. Might will that also intend to go for that plant. And now it's all about MEISTERSCHAFT if they're able to crawl in and maybe get some attached as we find and spot up Might in the first. Dancer finds also Joey. That way we have a triple on Dancer. And as immediately as that, the advantage point is not only gone, but is completely twisted and turned in the favor of MEISTERSCHAFT. As Colban, the player that tried to hold that vertical, has to drop down, does not have a diffuser, 40 seconds remaining. And these players know for sure where he is. Also yet again, as soon as Colban, he is swinging in, there are bullets on his head and on his body, and as soon as now there's a twit, there's a thorn gate coming out. Yet again the spots are tabled, and yet again Ranker can go for the swing, and it is just one angle too much to handle for the player of the Spanish Inquisition, as every single time as he is committing into a swing of one of these two defenders, the second defender is implementing himself in this scenario and makes it unpleasant to go for one of these executes. That way, the MEISTERSCHAFT pinch it down and knock him in the middle and make it sound like a horrible scenario coming in here. You only see a bunch of persons running in and out, running out of your scope, but you can't seem to find any bullets and any hits. And when it's too late because then the bullet strikes. And it's not out of your gun, it's out of the gun of your opponent. And by that being said, MEISTERSCHAFT, they take it down into a 4-1. Sixth and last round of the very first half, and it could potentially be a complete deja vu feeling from the very first map that we saw that also knocked us out of the first half with a 5-1 scoreline in the favor of MEISTERSCHAFT. And I see a lot of similarities from the very first map, but I also see a lot of similarities to the second map in the favor of map style and also play style. MEISTERSCHAFT seem to have a lot of the play style that the Spanish Inquisition had in their defenses on the second map. Meanwhile, also the Spanish Inquisition stole the play style that MEISTERSCHAFT had in the first map on the attacking side. So I feel that we have a lot of similarities about these two teams, but it's just pretty much about that one team at a time finds unpleasant play styles to knock down the plays of their opponent.
And then early engagement coming out here. Run out from the scope also of Dance. They're not finding anybody, but Evan trading back on the Fraud on the sledge here. I'd say that
what has happened with that guy?
Yeah, like he gets run out on from one angle and then spawn peek from another window from operational. Like that is a brutal thing to witness. I don't think he had a lot of possibilities, a lot of talent in that situation.
Yeah, but also we doubted Evan so much on the second map as it seemed like he was completely shut down in the second map. No, he doesn't have any shields, yet still in the first half he only has played aggressive operators. Do not see the shield player from the place that might have, and he nearly drops double digits only in the first half. Yet he gets shut down by Might now. Onfall's also there to prevail his chance into Ranker, and now these guys are too wide again in the defense, and now it's turned yet again because beforehand it was MEISTERSCHAFT that slipped within, found a kill and dipped away. Now it's more or less the Spanish Inquisition. They roam in, get a kill, and they conclude. Wait for the second player of MEISTERSCHAFT tries to go for that refrag, and they also shut down him in that equation. Might finds Joey. That is a little bit unpleasant. I think that was a shocking moment here for the gridlock. We have one guy on the linear, we have one on the vertical, but the vertical will not be found as we go for a linear take, and that is so unlucky. That is a free drop down, and that is a kill that should have not gone in the hands of the Spanish Inquisition. It should have gone into the hands of MEISTERSCHAFT, as that was a free line of sight directed down on the gridlock. But Jaeger didn't manage or want to hit his target, I guess. So 4-2.5 it is, and that is a scoreline not perfect for the Spanish Inquisition, but I think that is a rolls up that is okay from the score.
Yeah, a 4-2 scoreline for the defense is more or less what you're accustomed to seeing on Lair. You know, it is at the end of the day a defense-sided map, and I think the the attack should be, I wouldn't say happy, but content with 2 rounds here. It is still very much anyone's game here, depending on how the Spanish Inquisition defend and how much they're able to shut down these entries from MEISTERSCHAFT. You know, the Montaigne does get banned out here, which leaves the Blitz in the hands of Evan, with the other ban being the Deimos, to deny these intel, deny these vertical angles, and the Mira and the Bandit being taken out from the defense. So more or less what we see is standard, the kite still being up, but not currently in play.
Yeah. And another thing that I have seen, and also I want you to have to speak a little bit about, is that this is the first map that we see a big wave of defending rounds being won.
Yeah, it is quite odd. Well, you know, Border can be an attacker-sided map. It usually falls to the attack. I believe the win rate for attack on Border in Tier 1 is somewhere in the high 40s. So, you know, it is a more or less a 50-50 map depending on, you know, the individual skill level of the teams. Nighthaven Labs is a very much a defense-sided map, and I feel like what we saw was kind of an anomaly from MEISTERSCHAFT. They really couldn't string together those defense rounds as much as they probably wanted to. And that led to the Spanish Inquisition taking the map quite comfortably. But now we're more or less back to form on layer with these defense winners. And Ranker does find the run out of FOD with Joe trading back against her. That is something else from a very, very ballsy play that doesn't work out.
Ballsy play that doesn't pay out, but on the other side of the map, we will punish Danster for his rappelling skills. And that, we have a 4-4 scenario in round number 7, and it just pretty much feels like that we have already implemented the pressure points here, and we have managed to gain an entry on the sides of MEISTERSCHAFT, as Ranker is also able to punish Unfolds on his position. Unfolds, the player that was so important and so huge for his team on the second map. Also, Colben pretty much feels like a little bit more shut down now on this third and last decider map. Meanwhile, he had a tremendous performance on the second one.
I more want to draw attention to the operator that Unfolds dies on, that being the Warden. Now, the Warden being dead, what do you shut down the Blitz and the Glass with? You know, you've lost that ability to look through the smokes, and it's not
Yeah, you're pretty much your own weapon that you still have is that Clash, and Clash is being pushed out in an unfavored position here. Also, Clinched out doesn't have any sight. Move his back towards the player that came in from the small box. Joey tries to fight against that shield, but yet Colben finds Maxine, and now we have a complete twisted scenario again. As MEISTERSCHAFT gained access, had a tremendous advantage point. But now we have the scenario that one player is down, the other one is blind, but still, even though blind, this is not a challenge for Bandits. He finds the Blitz in a semi-flashed scenario, and he punches the Blitz for it. MEISTERSCHAFT seem to have a good advantage coming in here. They seem to have great position for that find and execute, but yet again, the card house just completely trembles and falls apart as the Spanish Inquisition finds one gap to slither through, find 2 picks, turn the odds in their favor, and then they have the 2 against 1 scenario where it just plays out perfectly well enough for them to take home that round, and yet close in to that scoreline a little bit further, as it was 4-2, now it's 4-3, and MEISTERSCHAFT yet with an okay round. They managed to implement pressure, but yet they managed to lose the round. That is something that we haven't witnessed before, because on the other round, on the other maps that we have seen privately, as soon as MEISTERSCHAFT had a successful opening engagement, implemented themselves within the map, and they tried to build upon that point, they always won that round. As soon as they are able to bring aggression and implement themselves on the map, they won the rounds in the attack. This was the first time it didn't happen. And why is that the case, Livia? Where is the gap that we didn't see?
Well, what I do myself believe here is, of course, MEISTERSCHAFT do have a very aggressive play style, and they like to go for these aggressive plays. But when you are in that man advantage, when you do have the Glass, when you do have the Blitz, I would have liked to see a more execute-focused approach there. You know, focusing your manpower on the side of the execute, playing with those smokes, you know, shutting down, you know, covering the execute with the Glass. I think that could have been a very good angle that MEISTERSCHAFT could have gone for there. You know, just taking a little bit of time and setting up that execute instead of going for the... That is an inherently risky strategy, and while it can pay off massively, this time it didn't.
No, this time it definitely didn't, and we need to have our eyes on the sake, on the point that it might happen again. MEISTERSCHAFT definitely need to be a little bit more sure about themselves, and especially on their takes, because else there's no gap for them to fall around, because you know for a sake that Spanish Inquisition, they're able to punish you for it, and the first punishment comes here as they find an opening engagement against Max Dean. That way we have the first advantage point gained by the Spanish Inquisition for round number 8.
Falling with the striker here, it's still utility in pocket. The breach capability is still live due to the ace of ranker, but like, you know, that still is a man down, it is utility down, it is a gun down, and the Spanish Inquisition just have to run down the clock here. Those Goyo devices are, for the large part, offline, so it will come down to stalling with the Echo and stalling with the C4 of FOD, I think.
Still a lot of explosives able in the pocket in the names of utility. Unfolds, then slips through and also gets the kill onto Evan, shrinks down the hopes and ends of MEISTERSCHAFT yet again, as that was the top fragger so far. Evan with a 10-5 scoreline after 8 rounds played for him.
Not quite finding the success I think he'd like on the attack here. Phenomenal on the defense, playing the Solus, playing the information gathering, and letting that element completely break that against the Joe on the side. But a little bit a tougher time on this side of the attack round.
Yeah, now we're trying to clear a lot of that utility. Also, another thing that I can't quite understand is why we are not bringing operators like, for example, a Flores or a Bravo to clear out that utility, because there's so much utility being brought here from the Spanish Inquisition that is so unpleasant to play against. We have the controls, we have these keeper barriers, we have these Ella mines, we have warriors. There's so much to clear, there's so much to be dealt with. What doesn't count, but Ranker here finds Ben and deals with him. FOD finds Danster, Unfolds finds Ranker. That way it's Erratic all alone yet again, and he finds Unfolds. It's the first one. Needs to find the second one. There's a supernova. There's a shotgun suppressor scene. That why also he drops away a little bit. Shotgun comes out. Goes ready, finds the first. He needs to aggress in. He needs to follow up. He needs to storm on the backs, but he is just a little bit of a meter too far away to get in to contest the last player onto the smoke. And an unfortunate round unfolds here. The names for Ghost Redick, as he is, as I mentioned, just 1 meter too far away from greatness. That way, the Spanish Inquisition haven't only shrink down, but they have equalized the round score here and made it into a 4-4 after 8 succeeded rounds. That will cause us to have maybe a potential new leader here in round number 9. Also the last round prior to the last ban wave. I feel like the Spanish Inquisition have a great read now onto MEISTERSCHAFT in their own defenses. So yet again, both teams had a tremendous half in the attack on the first 2 maps. 1 strike on each map. Right now, it feels like it's a complete defense game. Why is that the case? And why is this defense so enormously unpleasant to play against for MEISTERSCHAFT as of this moment?
Well, it's, you know, part of it is the inherent nature of Lair. Lair is a very defense-sided map, but like, I feel like MEISTERSCHAFT just aren't bringing the utility that they need to deal with this sort of hold. As you mentioned the Flores earlier, that would have been a tremendous help for this. And what I'm looking forward here is how they're going to deal with these zombie barricades now. Like, we do not have any DMRs because on the board of MEISTERSCHAFT, those things shred through the zombie barricades and are a very easy way to deal with them. We do not have the Flores. We do not have... Well, we have the 1 grenade from the stake of Evan. That is it for it. Another one is the Clash here. You have the Nomad. How are you going to uproot that Clash from the position that they're playing? How are you going to deal with that? I think these are questions that MEISTERSCHAFT would want to think more upon, instead of bringing this utility that they are. They're very much trying to play their own game. As Evan picks 1 and Ranker picks 1 on the Joe with the Clash here. The answer to my question is how they're going to deal with the Clash is apparently just killing them.
Yeah. And now we see the MEISTERSCHAFT that we saw on the very first map as they found a gap, and they completely pressured through that gap as they saw and found it to just bring on the pressure, bring on the heat, and just pretty much overrun these lines of defense as we've seen it as we've seen them do so on the first map. Sorry for my pronunciations. Holy, they were not with me in that case. But yet here, again, as we saw it on the first map, they find the gap and they completely use it to their advantage to overrun the lines of defense being brought by the Spanish Inquisition, should just pretty much overrun their entire proximity. And then also here the same happens. You spot them out, and as soon as you have spotted out your last operator, you overflood the spot with multiple angles, and Fod can maybe try to hold one. He can then try to quick swing the second, but if he has a third angle, the third angle will have him killed, and that was the case as he was concentrating himself on the breach, and he was already in the turn to twist his back 180 degrees and play towards green. But then we have the player that comes in from the other bomb site, and that is just one angle too much for Fod to handle. That way, MEISTERSCHAFT, they keep it on their end. They had an unfortunate 4-4 scoreline after 8 rounds, but they crawl it back and they pretty much uphold their lead now with a 10th round going in with a 5-4 scoreline. Last ban wave also been committed, and it stroke both on the ends of Kate and also Snake. Are these two bans valid? And of course they are. Pretty much the last line of playing against these breaches. These breaches are damn important on all elevations, on all bomb sites. Snake, a tremendous weapon in the hands of Evan so far. But why is that Snake ban so good for the guys of Spanish Inquisition? Why is that maybe giving them a little bit more time to calm down?
The Snake is, I think, on layer that they've been used to find these gaps themselves. You know, you find out where the people are playing. You can break these crosses. You can find out what is the weak point of the defense, what angle is not being watched, and you can, in the hands of Evan, who's a very experienced, very smart player, you can dedicate those players like, hey, this angle is not being watched. I want you to go there, and we're gonna break this cross this way, and we're gonna go hunt for the pick here. You know, and that is a very powerful tool being taken out from MEISTERSCHAFT, and Evan returning to his old favorite, the shields.
Yeah, and another big thing that I would like to also to suggest and also point out here is the importance of Dancer not only crawling it in, but also like pretty much putting on some more pressure, being on the table, and also gaining these kills in the attack. As soon as we have dropped ourselves from defense into attack, we see Dancer is directly picking up pace, and he is definitely another point that is so important of the takes here for MEISTERSCHAFT. As you mentioned it, Evan is back on his favorite position on the shields. May be that be a little bit too much mayhem for the Spanish Inquisition to uphold. Ranker behind the shield gets a little bit of damage by Colben.
Yeah, these breaches now opened up without any resistance due to the A still being in play and the electricity being out. You know, one thing I want to also pull attention to is the Florist of Ghost Medic here. You know, one of our main concerns was, like, are they bringing enough utility to clear out these zombies, clear out these bulletproof shields if there are any, clear out these barbed wires? And like Magic, Ghost Medic has heard our pleas, brought the Florist here, and it is working wonders.
Indeed, we see there's a little bit less movement now as we have acquitted ourselves with the Snake. The Snake is an operator that not only lures in intel, but it also forces defenders that are spotted by him to maybe drop their position, go away, re-roam, better said, just they're forced to move, and maybe they move in an unpleasant fortune for themselves and into the bigger fortune of the attacker that plays against them. Joey finds one on the answer, Colben finds Ranker, Maxton finds Fod, goes ready in the answer, finds Joey, unfolds, finds Maxton, and Joey finds the last one through his Thorn Gates onto the names of Reddick, as Reddick will be spotted out by the traps and killed by it. Only suppressed by the Clash coming in here. So it is an even game. We have a 5-5 score after 10 finished rounds, and that means and causes ourselves to have a Mexican standoff of some sort on at round number 11, because one of the two teams will go out of this round with a match point, and only one match point try before it goes to a potential overtime. And by that being said, both teams, great rounds, great defense rounds so far. Both teams found a round in the attack, but the big difference in my eye so far is that the players in the defense tend to have great communication, have great time when it's about committing into swings, committing into gunfights, and also being backed up by teammate. Levy, after your opinion, might have their nose just a slight inch in front here, and why?
Well, you know, we've talked a lot about the experience of Maestro Eska, and you know, if you were not familiar with either of these teams, you would think that they're you know, on paper should be roughly on the same level, right? So the Spanish Inquisition has put a wonderful fight. They've shown their teeth, they've shown their skill in this matchup more than a couple times, and maybe Maestro Eska has gotten a bit complicit with their playstyle, you know. But maybe there's been a little bit of this, oh, we have the advantage here, let's just go for these types of plays, where it would be a little bit smarter maybe to, you know, think about those a little bit more clearly. Of course, I don't want to assume the comms of Maestro Eska here or their mental state, but like I feel like there could be a little bit of that going on here.
Yeah, I have the same feeling, but it also is something on both ends, as we both see Max Team and also Might are not in the ideal position where they would normally see themselves, because we know for a sake what both these players are capable of doing and what they're able to pull off for their team. And it's pretty much right now just well. Having on the vertical with Ram, also gaining a lot of access and visibility into that basement, makes it a little bit unpleasant for the players of the Spanish Inquisition to roam and also move within the proximity and down in basement. Also, the first player of One Falls tried to bring some aggression in from that angle. Falls and dips that position as soon as he sees that there is a few tracks coming in here from the gridlock by Danster.
Yeah. What we're seeing here from the verticality and the Goyo canister being popped on the side of the warehouse is where the push will eventually go once they clear this lower room. It will go warehouse side, and I'm interested to see where that plant is being taken down. The main reason or plan that I hear being the smoke of Might here with 3 smokes in pocket, and Joe with a single canister still in pocket. No C4s on the side of the defense anymore, so I'm very interested to see how this goes. With the Ranker already inside with the defuse kit and being taken down by Fod, leaving the kit deep inside. With Mateen taking one on the Joe and Fod falling to the verticality, and that is a round and Maestro Eska on match point.
As soon as I wanted to point out a potential passiveness by Maestro Eska, they pick up pace. Obviously. So I cast a curse in my mind. No, I wanted to mention it out. I had the feeling of Maestro Eska, they felt the presence of Unfalls and one more player in the first floor with the Ella and also the other operator that I can't pick out of my head right now, and it stalled their gameplay a little bit. But it also gave them the motivation to try and play it on a linear base, and on the linear basis they pretty much clinched out these gunfights. They've also then forced the players of the Spanish Inquisition to fall back on site, so there was no more play on the vertical. And as soon as that happened and the read came that they're dropping back and they're falling back on site, the aggression came in by Maestro Eska, and out of nowhere they turned the switch, played it aggressive, played it with a lot of pressure, and they also roamed. They looked active down these verticals. Like, they implemented verticals, and the first 30 seconds where these verticals were implemented by the Ram, there was no one playing these verticals. Not active. Yes, of course, we had one player that watched over and walked over these, but we didn't see one player playing these active. They're pretty much trying to find a player on the verticality. But then, out of nowhere, that engagement came. We dropped down, we put on pressure on the linear basis. Out of nowhere, we also put on pressure on the vertical basis. I don't know where it came from, but Maestro Eska, they picked up pace whenever I thought about they were passing out.
Yeah. Maybe luring the defense into a false sense of security there by not playing the verticals and then peeking them. That could have turned out disastrously, to be honest. You know, Dancer Ranker going that deep inside with the ace with the kit in hand. Had he been shut down and had the rest of the push been somewhat delayed even, that could have been bad for them. Luckily it wasn't. They found out the picks and that round went exactly as they wanted. Now, all we're seeing Unfalls second.
Yeah, Unfalls definitely has some deep payment coming in here. Dancer now punishes him out and also clears him out of that round. But he's definitely done his good. He has definitely shot his chance. And it was a great one. Also that not only probably, but definitely gave them the upper hand in this match so far. And better said in this 12th round, because it's all or nothing. It's do or die for the guys of Spanish Inquisition, because they lose this round, they lose the match. And they lose yet another point.
One thing I wanted
Max
to touch
team
on
find
earlier.
Colbin.
Max team does fight Colbin. One thing I wanted to touch on early in the series is that we're seeing a more bunker-oriented hold. We've only seen unfalls on the first floor, and all of the rest of the players of the team going on those stairs or being inside of sight. Now Evan pushing down those stairs, taking a gunfight with Fod, walking into Fenrir Mines, not finding the kill, getting out, and almost.
Lucky for Evan.
Yeah.
Lucky for Evan that he suppresses that toxic babe and gets out of that smoke alive.
Absolutely, but that Blitz now being on low health and Joe having impacts in pocket, Might having one smoke in pocket, that getting that plant down again might prove a little bit difficult if they were to go for that. 50 minutes on the clock, we still have Goyo devices on site. You know, I think if MEISTERSCHAFT do not get a move on quite soon, the time could turn against them.
Well, this match doesn't really deserve some overtime action in my eyes. As soon as we find now, we're losing our side for the vertical bases, and we'll have fought to contest the vertical in the first floor. We'll catch the player of Maxton. Now we have to go for the drop. It's 20 seconds left, and it's only a glass to hold that cross. And also we have one player lurking on the on the vertical bases and just waiting for the drop to be committed so he can play the vertical all by himself. Dancer will be down and dusted here by Joey. And that way this match is most likely going in heading to overtime. Indeed, as I mentioned, Evan goes for the drop. Dancer is killed down on the glass. That way we have free line of walk up in the vertical base for Fod and Vought. He will play the vertical against the attackers that implemented the verticality play, and that way we seal the deal and we go into overtime.
What a more fitting end to this series than going third map, possibly maximum rounds. We'll have to wait what we see here with the Spanish Inquisition starting on defense, bans being the same as they were for the past 6 rounds here. So I don't think there's a need to touch on those anymore. I want to see if they're going to be doing anything different here than they did on their defenses here. Starting on Master and R6, I think the lineup looks quite similar than in what we've seen before.
Yeah, totally. But in general, also as I mentioned when we had Erebos with us after the second map, we are still looking into potential 50 more rounds of Siege. I think the teams took that a little bit too serious.
Yeah, I think they must have planted bugs in our office and heard our talk there, because they are going to overtime. You know, one would have probably thought that, you know, MEISTERSCHAFT would have had the advantage here coming into this game day, but Spanish Inquisition has thoroughly proven that to be false.
Like in general, as I also mentioned before we went into this match, both teams played relatively passive qualifiers. Both teams tended to play maps and qualifiers that are all about standards and all about the structure of Siege, of just playing it as a team, going in on 2 against 1 scenarios. And else the strategies, the deep strategies, are like standardized. Now the teams are able to like bring their real strat book and show what they're made of and what they're capable of, and the teams have no read on each other. The teams don't have anything. They can't play counter strat because they've never seen the strats before, and that is also giving the Spanish Inquisition the possibility of calling it in. I don't want to say they don't have the guts and don't have the chance on a regular basis when their opponent can play counter stratting. That is not the case, because both teams have enough experience to be able to change their own strategy mid-game to not be that readable. But on the other hand, MEISTERSCHAFT definitely has more experience to be a team that can counter strat better and also adapt their counter strategy to be fitting on whatsoever adaptation comes in from their opponent. But yet it doesn't matter. Spanish Inquisition delivers a great game, has a deserved map win so far, and it's more than deserved they fought back in this third and last decider map. And by that way being said, 1 minute off the clock, a few gunfights coming in, but yet no death found so far.
Yeah, the breach being open into R6 room and that and operational control gain for the attack, but that is about it. They have very little to show for this time spent thus far. Evan taking some damage. They're now posturing for the rocket stairs clear, and you know, as we've seen last round, I think the clock is going to be MEISTERSCHAFT's biggest enemy. They need to pick up the pace if they're going to break the score. It's still up 5v5 with what we're closing in on 6 seconds left on the round.
Yeah, and it is about that deep angle on deep 90 that where you have 2 players, one in bathroom and one on that staircase. You just need to overcome that position. Also, you need to be able to get away and into the box Now we're opening the breach. Might is putting himself in a position with a clash. Evan finds Fod on the linear base. That's very important. So the bottom floor is cleared. We have 4 guys on site. Close proximity. Goes Riddick, tries to aggress in. Finds some reads on falls. Joey.
No C4 on the side of the defense, so this has to be a straight up gunfight if they're going to take these. I'm interested to see what the clash will be doing. They'll be called burned. Ghost Riddick finding one of the cold Ben, Ghost finding 2 on the falls, and now a 4v2 for the side of Maestro Eska. Do they find this clash here? No, gets one on the cold Riddick. Swings out. Joe getting one to Evan, Densler getting Mike, and only Joe having to find 2 kills here to save them from going down a round. That's going down from the team now.
If they have the sound calls, they definitely don't need the sound calls because they get one for free by that strike here coming in by the air jab from the Nomad. Joey tries to fall back, but the smoke is indeed on the side of the guys because he can watch through it with his thermal sight. Get that kill done and dusted, and that way yet again the match point is in the hands of MEISTERSCHAFT, and now yet again a second time on this deciding map it is Spanish Inquisition with their backs against the wall, do or die scenario once again.
As we return to the attack side of Spanish Inquisition in overtime, we see those triple intel gathering bands again out, and as we immediately see Evan picking on the Solus, immediately see Dunstan picking on the Vigil. This is what we saw in the first half of the game, and that intel denial really, really starving out the attack of the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, it starves it out, and in general, they had a good read. They stalled out the playstyle of MEISTERSCHAFT for far a while. They were able to not only pick up the pace, but they were also able to pretty much break the flows of MEISTERSCHAFT. MEISTERSCHAFT very lucky in that equation that they find angle point where they can pivot themselves upon, and also that pivot point, it was indeed that Spanish Inquisition led themselves into trying to aggress down and nail down a kill or 2 in that 90 section, and they just had one player too much on the end of MEISTERSCHAFT watching these given angles, and that way the Spanish Inquisition gave away their chance. And now it's all about MEISTERSCHAFT if they're able to close down. MEISTERSCHAFT now on the favorite side, the side that has won so many rounds of this map so far on both ends of both teams. Well, now they're in the defense yet again over themselves. And what are the big things here? The biggest challenges for the Spanish Inquisition to come back and fight this in to make it a 7-7?
You know, it is still, as we've repeatedly said on this broadcast, it is about the entry game, but there's one thing on the side of the Spanish Inquisition now that immediately piques my interest, and that is the Ying of Fod being brought out. I do not believe they played that operator on the attack here yet. You know, those Candelas being lethal, no Wamai on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, or however that Wamai being brought by the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, no Warden. So should that Wamai fall early, should those discs be found out and shot out, things would get hairy as Fod picks 1 kill up on the Denster.
Finds a kill on Danster. Opening agent found, and it's an important one for the guys with the Spanish Inquisition, because Danster indeed has surpassed Evan in the name of some scores, and is the current top fragger from MEISTERSCHAFT. But another point that is definitely in the hands of MEISTERSCHAFT is they have already stolen nearly 1.5 minutes of the clock, and yet there's a lot of plays still to be implemented here by the players of Spanish Inquisition. Ranker is not backing down of his position. He leads and crawls back and down to on Falls and kills him. Maxton finds a kill on Fod yet again on these Thorn Gates. Maxton finds an excellent Knight. That air jab saved the awesome Maxton, and also doesn't save him, but he gets 1 kill, he gets the second, he gets the third! And that way we have done and dusted the match, as we have a final score of 8-6 for MEISTERSCHAFT. And what a closing engagement that was.
That was a closing and a half. A 3v5 converted to a win by MEISTERSCHAFT. I am very curious to see what Erebos has to say about that final round.
Match and game-winning scenario taken away by an air jab. Your own air jab destroyed your chance of winning and surpassing a key position, because it jams and smacks back Maxton in a safe position where he can recover in time to just also not only swap away from his full auto secondary to his close proximity shotgun that can deal so incredibly much damage, and that was a little bit too much to surpass for the guys of the Spanish Inquisition, but it isn't enough to surpass the presence of our host. Erebos, how did you see the match?
That was an absolutely insane final round. The fact that the air jab blocks off the angle, and yes, maybe Thorn, if the air jab's not there, swings and gets the kill, but the fact that he is able to just play around that piece of wall to find all of the kills is just absolutely insane. And for the Spanish Inquisition to go out like that, man, it was a fantastic series. 3-game banger. Overtime on the final map. Yes, it wasn't the full 15 rounds, but we still got overtime, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, what a way to close it out, especially with that final round. And it looked like the Spanish Inquisition was going to take it to that final round, that final 15th round, but Thorn had other things to say about it. And MEISTERSCHAFT on day one with their first group stage match managed to secure a win, and it got a little dicey in the end, but it was definitely hairy. And looks like we're gonna head to a very, very short break. We're gonna set up an interview, and we'll be back as soon as it's ready. It sounds like the interview is ready. And gonna go ahead and bring in Denster to join us and get some insight into the minds of Denster. Denster,
hello.
after that match,
it was decent. It was okay. It wasn't the best. I think probably shouldn't have went a 3-match versus them, but we did. Live, laugh, love.
Definitely looked a little dicey there in the end. It was a very interesting way to close that one out, especially in that clutch with the Thorn. But overall, I think that you guys definitely performed well. Maybe you guys don't think the same way, but in the end, a win is a win, right? You gotta take the ones that maybe you're not. Yeah, I think that the picks definitely were a big detriment there, but we saw a lot of shield gameplay in this match from both sides. We saw in map 2 that a lot of those shields got banned away against you guys. We saw map 1, the blitz was really, really strong for you. We saw map 3, a lot of shields getting picked, but maybe not to the extent as map 1 and 2. How do you feel about shields right now overall? And without giving too much away, do you feel like you guys are a strong shield team?
I think the thing is we have like basically 5 people that can play shields. I think we're naturally going to be a strong shield team, but I don't particularly like playing them at least, like even in a team. And I also don't, other than the Monte, I don't care about playing against them. I think there's that many traps, and there's that many other ups right now in this meta, being like Snake, Deimos, Dokkaebi, Cappy, Grim, that like you can't really afford to sit there and ban shields. I think if you're banning if you don't know how to deal with shields when you have Thorn, Ella, Denery, C4's up, and it's just a waste of a ban. I think Monty's different because it's harder to kill them, and I think we even left the Monty open versus them on the lair, at least, because we just said, okay, fuck it, we're just going to fight them. I don't like just full fight them. And that's what we done in the lair, just decided to fight them. So I'm not too big fans of the shield bans. I think you just have to deal with them. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with full info against you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Shields can be very oppressive in the right hands, and I'm waiting for the day that Ubisoft nerfs them into the ground and they're not relevant anymore. But that's just me on a personal case. Now, this tournament, you guys won your first day of groups. I know that you guys are definitely going to feel confident. You definitely want to take it all the way and win. But other than your team, do you think that there's another team that is maybe a favorite? Who do you think is going to be the biggest competition to win the whole tournament?
It's surely between us, what they call turbo, whatever they're called. You know, them and then Good Intentions. I think them three are at least in my opinion, the top three. I think I don't think LLH decided to play, if I'm not wrong. So I think it's them three teams that would be going for the win, and then the rest of the Panahon are there as well, aren't they? Okay, so Panahon as well, I would say. But other than that, then I think them 4 teams are probably aiming to win it, and then the rest of the teams. There's some teams that could make like a decent run, like Fansvac, but they don't make playoffs in any tournament, so they're not making playoffs. Let's be real.
All right. Well, congratulations on your win. I'll let you get some rest. Thank you for the insight. Thank you for the interview, and good luck in the rest of the group stage.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All righty. Welcome back, casters. What did you think about the interview? What did you think about Denster, and what do you have to say?
I mean, great interview, and thanks for Denster, and it kind of confirmed my suspicions on what I said on Lair, that maybe MEISTERSCHAFT got a little bit, conceited. They maybe thought they had a bit of the edge there, and they pushed their advantage a little bit too hard in certain scenarios when they should have maybe played it a little bit more safe. And it's great hearing from Denster that I ended up actually being correct on that hunch that I had there on Lair.
Yeah, I pretty much had the same read that we got confirmed here by Denster on the interview, and on the other end, I am also a little bit delighted to say that they directly see what they did wrong. They are saying that they didn't have their A game on spot today. They had a bunch of problems here and there, and they are aware of the fact that they have time to go back to the drawing board and analyze the games and get things patched and set up for the next matchup. It's always good to see teams, even though it doesn't matter how much experience that they criticize themselves, criticize their plays, and also are able to play counteractive about themselves and say, okay, today was not our A game. Doesn't matter if it is on a team base or an individual base. That gives teams the room to expand on their own skill set, on the mindset, and also give them the best setup potential for the upcoming games. So I'm very enlightened to see Denster speaking about that as well. On the other hand, also very interested that he speaks up about the 3 other teams that we have spoken up about in the qualifiers privately. He mentioned they're among the favorites. They're among the favorites together with Turbine Carpus, Panohone, and also Good Intentions. Those are I think the 4 teams in the entirety of the community that they say will go the furthest. On the other hand, also when we were mentioning, and I have already said that when I did the cast on the qualifiers with Max, when you name Panohone, you also have to name Neponon. Neponon is maybe not as known as Panohone, but it is the same player pool. They have a lot of experience. It's a roster that is very unpleasant to play against. In general, what these Finns bring to the table in T2, it is one of among the playstyles that are the least like to play against, because it is so damn unsuring about your own. Because these Finns, they're able to roam in ways and also pinpoint you down on one given position, and you have zero clues where they're coming from, and it's just so unpleasant to play against. But in general, great interview, great insights and insights here by Denster, and I'm just hyped to see where this roster is going to bring themselves in the upcoming play days.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I think that beautiful, beautiful series to kick us off in the group stage of the MEISTERSCHAFT. And I want to thank you, Mighty and Herker, for the wonderful cast. I think you guys did a fantastic job. And thank you to the teams that played today and gave us some fantastic Siege. Thank you to our wonderful observer, Vifi. Thank you to our amazing producer, Araka. And thank you to the viewers for watching us. It really couldn't happen without you guys, but it's going to do it for Playday 1. We have another game tomorrow, the next set of BO3s, and we'll be back tomorrow with some more Siege. So thank you for watching, but for tonight, this is it.